NCK's battle. We'll have it on screen here momentarily.
We've got Shadow Machamp up against the Bastiodon, so definitely a very nice spot for Shadow Machamp to be in. Can it eat a flamethrower?
Yeah, it comes through. Does heavy damage, but like Machamp's still gonna be able to counter it down from here and come out with energy on the other side. Nick looks
100
like
energy.
Nick spent his shield earlier in this matchup probably to get switched to guarantee this matchup. And then that's Dre coming out. That was that's Hex Alola Marowak?
Not sure.
Yeah, gets the bait there. And then gets to throw this rock slide with all that energy coming out of the basket matchup, forcing the shield out with the bait, and then also throwing this rock slide that would do heavy damage there to the AWAC.
Does have a bit of energy ready to go, and brings in the Jellicent, so trying to take this thing out, but definitely going to have to burn a shield here if he wants to keep this thing around. Oh, he's calling the bait. He's calling the bait.
I think he also knows that this won't be lethal either way, and so he's able to take that damage and then immediately swapping back to the Obstagoon, throwing the Night Slash right away. This matchup did start earlier with an Obstagoon into the Sableye, and so Nick was able to get a little energy there and then force switch. He did Nick's first. Oh, there's the boost. There's the boost.
Obsta boost.
If you have the Boostagoon motes, you can throw them in the chat for NCK228. It's the signature mon for him and getting that boost, helping him come back in this game number 2. Dre just letting the Marowak go. Yeah.
There was no reason to. If they even had the burner shield, Obstagoon was not losing that matchup with just Boostagoon. I'm so glad that we saw a Boostagoon this early, and I think that puts it 1-1 in this first round. And because it is best of the top 1 leaves every pool going into the bracket play, Nick does kind of want to win every battle he can to try and come out on top here. So he really wants to win this third. So we'll see if he does kind of adjust it all, or if the opponent does.
About winning the most series, but then one of the primary tiebreakers is games won, and so it's important to our opponents that you don't try to get too spicy in a game 3. If you win 2-0, you want to win all the games, or if you can come back in a series, obviously you want to win the series and also get those game wins. And earlier in that match, just as a note, it was that Obstagoon into a Sableye, and Dre went up to and threw a return that Nick shielded. That was the shield that was missing when we came into the game, was NCK had shielded a return from that Sableye onto his Obstagoon. And it looks like we're jumping into game 3.
We're seeing the Shadow Machamp up against the Vigoroth. So Vigoroth going to take super effective with the Shadow bonus, so getting straight out of there into the Mawile, which is a pretty interesting swap because it's still going to be weak here. I feel like maybe NCK could swap into the Obstagoon because then he can use up the Obstagoon in a spot where it isn't taking that super effective damage. Maybe, and that is exactly what he's doing, swapping in there because he can save Machamp for the Vigoroth matchup later on where Machamp is not taking super effective damage from counter. So Obstagoon definitely in a pretty good spot here. Can eat that power punch, which he definitely can, and just farm out some energy.
Yep, I think he's going to need to throw moves here. He can't afford to just kind of farm this all the way down now that the Fire Fang damage is ramping up with those power-up punches. It looked like the Obstagoon was going to go down a little sooner, so throwing his energy right away, getting that last shield out already. No shields left for Dre.
Man, NCK can't shield here. He's just not going to get to another charge move, so has to let it go. Has to let Obstagoon go down. Going to bring out the Machamp to try and take this thing out ASAP. Man, that's low. And NCK has a Bastiodon in the back to take on a Vigoroth. Brings out the Sableye. Can't swap yet. So this Machamp is going to be going down, or, barely hanging on, which means that Bastiodon is going to have to take out this Sableye and the Vigoroth. Does have the 2-0 shield advantage, but yikes, that is a rough spot.
Able to swap it out with 1 HP left, denying his opponent just a little bit of farm, but these double super effective counters from the Vigoroth. Poor Bastiodon.
Oh, no.
Yep, using the shields here. I mean, it's probably just a body slam, but needs to save every little bit of health that he can. This Stone Edge, I think, does about 40%, which is just not
roughly
lethal. Misses one bubble, but as long as you just gets the great, so loses a little bit of damage there. And as long as you get the word excellent on the screen, it does full damage. But if you get a great, it does a little bit less. Looks like you'll be able to shield this and farm down. It's just gonna be a question of, can that Sableye get to a foul play?
Yeah, this is going to be close. This is going to be a lot closer. The switch time isn't up, so he can't do any fast swaps into Machamp to catch a move yet. He's just trying to get to this donut. Oh, we're seeing the charge move come through already.
Outplay coming through. I'm not sure it's lethal from here, but he's going to be very low in the red. And
I don't think you can get to a charge move, unfortunately. Oh, has the Machamp? Yeah, nah, that's not going to do anything. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Ah, dang. And NCK going down in the first round. That was incredibly close, though. Like, I discounted Bastiodon pretty much straight away. Maybe I shouldn't have, because he was doing a pretty good job. Almost got there. So close. So close.
Yeah.
Just needed to get to that charge move, I guess.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 smackdowns away. But like couldn't really afford to get those against the Vigoroth, which was doing even more fast move pressure. So just not able to quite line up. I mean, bringing both counter users again, and actually getting one on the Bastiodon this time. Maybe I'm trying to think. Maybe shielding. Maybe he's in a better spot if he shields the flamethrower from the Bastiodon on his Shadow Machamp. Because he knows Dre still has that Vigoroth, and Shadow Machamp, while it does super effective damage with its counters, like it's pretty squishy, and it takes a lot of damage back from those neutral counters as well. So maybe keeping an eye on trying to keep the health on this Shadow Machamp a little higher will help him in future matchups.
There's also the potential. It'd be risky, but you could maybe bring the Bastiodon in up against the Mawile at the end instead of Machamp, because Machamp was going to be very important for the Vigoroth matchup. Wouldn't do super hot against the other the Sableye.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
mean, it'd be rough no matter which way you cut it. It was going to be a close matchup.
Yeah, I like that read actually. Bringing if he shields that flamethrower, and then when the Mawile comes in, switches to the Bastiodon, I think that he can get kind of an energy lead there. We saw that that Mawile can win in the 2 shields, but Dre was already missing a shield, so that Bastiodon just really needed to get to a flamethrower, and the Mawile would have gone down. The neutral Fire Fangs, even 1 power-up punch in, not that threatening to the Bastiodon, and just kind of using that Bastiodon to absorb damage for the Shadow Machamp, right? Shadow Machamp, very glassy, needs those shields, but even beyond like needing those shields, it doesn't want to fight things from full health on full health, because it takes so much damage back in those matchups. So anytime you can bring in something really bulky to kind of chip something down to half or 40%, then the Machamp can come in, clean that mon up, and then carry that energy into the next matchup. So I think that might be a more interesting, more powerful way to kind of utilize the Bastiodon in that lineup, just to absorb damage, absorb shields, absorb charge moves, to enable the Shadow Machamp a little bit better.
Because it is a shield face, right? Like that's its job. It's just like it is literally your third shield. You know, it's evolving from shield on. It's got a bastion in its face, I suppose. But I feel like if Bastiodon just came in, and then because ideally the big problem matchup, like of the 4 mons that were left, the Sableye and Vigoroth on the one end, the Shadow Machamp and Bastiodon on the other end, you just didn't want to see your Bastiodon line up against that Vigoroth.
Yeah.
That's really what you want to avoid. So if you could maybe, obviously bring in the Bastiodon. If Bastiodon didn't come out alive, then you'd see the Vigoroth come in, get a little bit of energy potentially. Although I think the switch timer would have been all good to swap out at that point.
Really close. And we saw it there also at the very end of that game, the switch timer almost back up in time for him to swap and catch that foul play. Literally like 2 turns off. That's 1 second of time from being able to swap out to try to catch that, which would have been a game-changing occurrence had he been able to pull that off.
Yeah, but we are going to be going into the second battle up against King Joker with NCK. So they've sent friend requests. They're getting ready to go. So if we pull up King Joker's team,
King Joker's
so he's Joker in the teams. Just Joker. Yeah, so he's got Vigoroth, Jellicent, Skarmory, Gastrodon, which is going to be an interesting Pokemon, Umbreon, and Abomasnow.
Joker.
Assuming Joker is the name. Or King
trying to lock down his registered name on Facebook bracket is slightly different than his registered name on the tournament page, and so we're trying to nail down which of these teams exactly is his. Looks like it's under a different. I think it's just under. You see if JOK.
Okay, 3.
Trying to pull that up. Should have that for you in just a second. Okay.
Not seeing a. I'm not finding it. I'm blind as a goal bat.
Production and we are working together to try to figure out what this team is, chat. What this esteemed opponent's name is on the site. We have a Joker, but that is a different lineup than production is seeing for this person, and then the other options look like teams that are. One of these teams is clearly someone that didn't properly register and is not participating under King, and the other one is King Duckspool, who I know who that is, and that is not Joker. So we'll see shortly what King Joker has in store.
I think for now we might just have to run with what we're seeing on the site under Joker with Vigoroth, Jellicent, Skarmory, Gastron, Umbreon, and Abomasnow, right? Under that assumption. Okay. We've been told that it may be Ferrothorn instead of the Gastrodon. So Gastrodon is listed on the site, but it may actually, in fact, be a Ferrothorn, which could mean that it's a double grass line. Which
Abomasnow and Ferrothorn.
Very interesting. So what? I guess that is. It means that we're not going to see NCK's Jellicent.
Very unlikely to see the Jellicent in this matchup.
That's a little bit too risky on that front, especially because
there's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing there for the Jellicent to go after except the Vigoroth, right? The Vigoroth is a pretty good matchup, but it's a Hex Jellicent. So, and we saw a Hex and Bubble Beam. So even that matchup's not great. You're like double resisting the counters, but they're double resisting your Hex. You get to throw Bubble Beams, which don't do much. And they have neutral Bulldoze, which is non-stab and very inefficient. So that matchup, not really a fun one for either player. Kind of a slow, grindy one. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like the Jellicent has much play here against any of those mons. The opposing Jellicent, just a mirror match, and the Umbreon, 2 grass types, and Skarmory also just kind of a neutral matchup. So I wouldn't expect to see that. The
you know what Pokemon I really like on NCK's team against this one?
What?
It's the Obstagoon, baby. Booster Goon.
Yeah, it's good against the Jelly, that Night Slash, the Dark typing, neutral matchup with Skarmory that can definitely flip if you get a boost. 2 grass types that are weak to counter. The Ferrothorn, the Steel typing, and the Ice typing on the Abomasnow. And then Goon having a really good match against Umbreon as well. Just got to look out for that double super effective counters coming back from the opposing Vig. So definitely a good matchup for Boostagoon if he can keep it away from that Vigoroth.
Yeah, so it might be one of those cases where it's not necessarily ABB, but you've got an A and you really don't want to see that one other particular Pokemon, so maybe you can lead with it, swap it out, keep it for later, and then try and maneuver yourself around to make sure that they don't end up locking heads. Or if they do, Obstagoon just has to have, 100 energy, throw cross chops and try and take this Vigoroth out of there before Vigoroth can kind of flip the tables on it. Because I really feel like if you can get away, I guess, Skarmory isn't a great matchup either. So if the opponent ends up running their Skarmory and Vigoroth, which they might, how good is Skarmory up against here? I don't think. Oh, see, Alolan Marowak could have some play here because there is the double grass, and maybe that's a bit of the game, trying to bait out the fire with the Abomasnow and Ferrothorn and Skarmory, and then try and catch
with the Umbreon or the Jellicent, depending on what its moveset is.
Could be a bit of mind games going on with the team build from the Joker, the classic. Trying to play tricks, but NCK is locked in now, going to go up against King Joker. And we've got that updated team on the right hand side, so I guess we'll just wait and see to make sure that is the team we're going to see. If we see Gastron happen to appear, we know something's fishy, something's gone off. But King at Joker choosing his team now. He's accepted the battle request. We're not seeing any Shadow Vigoroth this time, but we are going to be going in with the shiny Golbat up against the Vigoroth, which this is great. This is a really great start because it means that the Obstagoon is not locked in up against the Vigoroth, and it's not a terrible spot for Golbat to be in. But as you talked about before, Ninja, Vigoroth is going to be kind of it's in a decent spot. I guess it's sort of neutralish back and forth.
Yeah. They both get to these charge moves at the exact same time. Looks like Vigoroth won CMP there. The Poison Fang damage is going to help the wing attacks ramp up, where the counters aren't really going to get any more threatening, and they're already double resisted. So I don't think the Vigoroth might be able to shield here. And swaps into the Hex Jellicent to catch this. But you're catching a move that debuffs you. That's kind of a tough spot to be in. Yeah.
It's really, and Golbat's staying in, so I'm wondering if he's either one, just getting the energy ready to go. Oh, okay, he charged up to the Poison Fang, tried to swap out of there to catch the move, but unfortunately was not able to do that. Does he shield? No shield, hoping it was Bubble Beam, and he called it correctly. That is a fantastic call, because otherwise he would have, again, kind of caught the debuff move onto a different Pokemon. So this is a really just dominating matchup with Obstagoon up against this Jellicent. So really good spot. Has to be a little bit scared that there is that when this Jellicent goes down, Vigoroth is coming out. So he has to be prepared for that. Has to have the energy ready to go. So going to throw these Night Slashes to take it out. You know, maybe get the Obsta boost. Boostagoon coming soon.
True. Man, that's a lot of damage after that Poison Fang debuff. But still, like, double resisted counters, you're still going to really struggle to try to counter this down. But he might go for it, chat, and just store up a bunch of energy. We'll see how he wants to play it. If he wants to go just up to 2 moves here, so he has 1 ready for... Yep, he just throws a little bit short of that one, making sure that another Bubble Beam doesn't come through and debuff him again. So he's 2 stages down already. Throwing this Night Slash, no boost, and a Abomasnow comes out.
Now, this is interesting. I guess he knows that Golbat has a Poison Fang in the back, so maybe trying to get some energy up on this Abomasnow so that he has the Weather Balls ready to throw at that thing. But this is definitely an interesting... Oh, actually, you know what? It's also been heavily Bubble Beam debuffed. So it wasn't actually doing much damage with those counters. So kind of a prime time to come in and farm a little bit. It swapped out of there into the Vigoroth, burning the shield on the counter, and oh man.
Oh, but now there's a Shadow Machamp with 2 shields, and both of these mons are weak to counter. The Abomasnow has 1 move charged up already, 1 Weather Ball, but this Vigoroth's not going to get a second move, and this Shadow Machamp's going to, I mean, here comes the Weather Ball, shield the Weather Ball, 1 punch, and cross chop. This Abomasnow is as good as dead.
Yeah, I mean, even if this Abomasnow was able to take this Machamp out, you've got the Poison Fang on the Golbat waiting in the back. You've got a little bit of an Obstagoon as well that can maybe throw an extra counter or 2. It's look, it's just not where a Shadow Abomasnow wants to be, taking so much damage there. Looks like it is actually a Shadow Abomasnow as well instead of regular Abomasnow. But NZK did take that one out regardless. So, I mean, kind of interesting place there. I guess it all sort of worked out exactly how NZK would like. We had the Golbat leading into the Vigoroth. Mm-hmm. We had the Obstagoon, the double counter users, able to kind of land exactly where they need to be. The opponent swapped into their Jellicent. NZK was able to swap into the Obstagoon to really punish that. And then we saw Abomasnow come out, give Obstagoon some extra farm, and then it just went south, unfortunately, for the opponent. Joker could not take it away.
Yeah, I think part of that also is when and what Joker opted to throw there. Like going up to a Bubble Beam against the Golbat and just throwing the Bubble Beam right away. Not lethal for the Golbat, and then he doesn't have that energy for when the counter swap comes in. Imagine how different that feels if he just kind of keeps hexing there and throws a move that would be lethal to the Golbat. Then Golbat's either eliminated or Nick feels compelled to throw a shield there, because if he goes to 5 hexes, then it could be a Shadow Ball. And if he goes to 5 hexes and Nick swaps out and catches, like he was trying to do, he obviously went to the Poison Fang and tried to catch. If he catches that first Bubble Beam, then there's like 3 Bubble Beams land on the Obstagoon. It's doing even less damage. And maybe that's a situation where then the Vigoroth feels comfortable coming back in and farming him down. because the cross chops 3 stages down aren't as threatening there. Or he can come in with the Obama Snow and like just go for a bigger farm and just no shielding. But just throwing those bait moves and them not getting shields usually puts you in a pretty awkward spot.
Absolutely. And I guess I do wonder if the Pokemon lined up a little bit differently, if Joker might have had a little bit more play, you know, if maybe the Vigoroth didn't have to meet its fate up against that that Vigoroth, you know, was able to land up against Obstagoon and then chase Obstagoon around, then maybe the Abomasnow was able to throw some Ice Weatherballs onto Golbat. It certainly could have played out different line-wise, but there were, you know, there were certainly some misplays made that Nick could really just take advantage of and play exactly how he wanted to play, dictate how the matchup was going to go, keep the switch advantage, follow Joker around exactly where he wanted to be, get the moves off in the right spot. We didn't, you know, no Obsta boost was needed because he was saving it for this game, which we're about to see. Obstagoon in the lead up against the Umbreon. Again, a really dominating matchup for NCK straight to start us off. So just going to counter away. We'll see if one of them swaps out eventually. We do see the swap out into the Skarmory here. So a bit of an interesting matchup, and throwing with the cross chop. I guess just trying to put a little bit of damage on here. I didn't actually see what was in the back.
Cross Chop and Night Slash both neutral here. I think Night Slash actually a little more efficient and has the chance at a boost. So a little curious why he would throw the Cross Chop there. And he switches over to throwing the Night Slash this time, realizing, oh yeah, I should be Night Slashing here. I want that boost, right? If I get that boost, puts me in a huge advantage for the rest of this matchup. Also interesting, Nick bringing the same line but in a different order. And looking at the two teams, I was thinking like Skarmory pretty good against all those mons. Like doesn't like dominatingly win any of those matchups necessarily, but just has a lot of play against all three. So it makes sense that Dre would bring in that Skarmory for this round 2.
Joker. Dre was Joker's last battle. But,
Joker bringing in that Skarmory for round 2. Thank you. He's
let his Skarmory go though, like burning 0 shields, just let it go down. And now we're seeing the Vigoroth come in. So Vigoroth is going to get some farm up. Unfortunately, we didn't really see Skarmory do what we both know that Skarmory could have done. But we'll see how it does play out regardless. Really kind of maybe forced to burn a shield here. Finally burning 1 on that cross chop. Going to get taken down before another one comes through for sure. But, you know, we've got 2 Pokemon in the back that can kind of deal with Vigoroth pretty well.
It makes sense he brings in the Golbat here because it is going to do a better job of absorbing this damage, kind of using the Golbat as an extra shield here. The Shadow Machamp, these 2 Body Slams are going to come through before Machamp can get to a move. Should be another Body Slam right here. And Machamp would die to these 2 Body Slams. So he brings in the Golbat here that's taking very resisted damage on the counters, able to absorb both Body Slams. And then we'll see if Nick wants to stay in here or switch out. Maybe goes to a Poison Fang. Yeah, looks like he's going to stay in this matchup. Opponent had Skarm and Vig. Oh, it's the Umbreon from the lead. So he knows he's got his Machamp locked in against that Umbreon. And Umbreon comes back in, and Machamp comes to meet it. This is not a good matchup for the Umbreon. Umbreon can, I think, win no, it can't win the zeros against Shadow Machamp. It can against some of the other fighters by landing a Last Resort and 1 Foul Play, but Shadow Machamp outpaces it. The 10 turns to get to a Cross Chop, and 2 Cross Chops will kill the Umbreon. But with the chip damage already, it'll probably just take 1 plus a few more counters. A second Foul Play coming through. That's interesting.
So can take another one. I'm wondering, maybe he doesn't have Last Resort. Maybe could be a double Dark Umbreon
because NCK is shields down, so no reason not to throw the Last Resort if you've got it.
He did burn the shield on the first one, but yeah,
true.
on the second go. I mean, down goes Umbreon, and we are going to see that Vigoroth come in for a brief moment and then fade away, and NCK taking out the round.
Yeah, even if he had landed the Last Resort there, that Machamp still would have had enough health to get those 2 counters on the Vigoroth. So not changing the outcome of the match. And we'll see what Nick locks in for game 3 if he brings back the same 3 Mons again. Feeling really comfortable with those 2 counter users and the Golbat kind of as a cover. Kind of a neutral generalist allows him, I think, maybe also thinking about what it looks like when he can land that Poison Fang debuff on something and then bring in a Shadow Machamp, some synergy there. So feeling pretty comfortable with that line of 3, but maybe changes it up here in the 3rd game in this round after seeing the Skarmory come out that time. Maybe reading that maybe the Basti has a little more play, but after what happened in his first round, getting that Basti locked in on Vigoroth, he may be a little hesitant to bring the Basti back if there's a Vigoroth on the other side.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit safer to stick with the same three. I don't think there's really there is that Facet option. There's Alolan Marowak who is not going to have you would have to go seriously 5-head play. I know that they're going to lead a Bombasno or lead Skarmory to throw this Marowak in, and then I'm never going to lose Switch. I'm going to keep this completely. This is going to be my ballpark forever, because otherwise it's just not going to be able to do anything. And then the other Pokemon on the NCK side is that Jellicent, who, as we said before, not a lot of play against Joker's team, unfortunately. So I'm feeling it's going to be the same three. Maybe a third order.
Yep, here comes the shot.
A third order.
And we do see that Ferrothorn come out. Man. And Ferrothorn does not like this matchup. We have the exact same three from NCK228, but just changing up the lead. Ferrothorn into the Jellicent, Hex Jellicent. Obstagoon comes out, triple resisting these hexes. I think each hex does 1 damage. That was definitely a Bubble Beam. Too fast to be anything else. And we know that Joker is running that Bubble Beam from the previous matchup. So no Ice Beam here, no reason to shield, no reason to over farm on the Jellicent before throwing, just trying to minimize that damage as much as he can. But now we get to start fishing. We got a Jellyfish on the other side, and the Goon is fishing for boosts.
Oh dear. We are seeing the first. We've seen one Bubble Beam debuff. We're going to see a few more before this match is out, unless he goes for something real fishy there. Boosting something else. No boost yet. Can't quite go for a counter down at this point, unfortunately. I mean, he could in a few years. Oh, man.
That Shadow Ball, it costs.
Don't do that.
Costs way more than a Bubble Beam and does about the same damage because it is triple resisted. Interesting, Nick. NCK does not go for an overcharge here. Maybe could have gone for store up 2 Night Slashes and then throw 1, but just throws that one right away. He gets 1 stage. There's the boost. So now he's +1 stage because he did got the boost, which is 2 stages up and had been down 1 stage from a Bubble Beam. But the Vigoroth wins the CMP here and he's just letting the boost go.
Yeah, if he did get more energy up on that Jellicent, just overfarmed to the tiniest bit, he definitely would have been able to throw potentially another charge move onto this Vigoroth, which would have been really nice. Plus, Vigoroth would have got less farm. Actually, no, we threw the body slam to take him out anyway, so it doesn't actually matter too much in that department. But we are seeing the Golbat come in. Again, going to soak up a few body slams from this Vigoroth. Definitely going to have to take 2 before this matchup is over, unless they don't shield. If Poison Fang goes through.
This game feels pretty much over. There's a Shadow Machamp. There are still 2 shields. There are a Vigoroth and a Ferrothorn on the other side.
Dear.
Already got a move loaded on the Shadow Machamp as well. Shadow Machamp, those big beefy arms, that creepy purple aura, and down goes, well, just 1 HP in a dream.
Come on, Ferrothorn, we believe in you. You can take it out.
Ferrothorn, though, only had thrown, I think, 5 bullet seeds before, so not at a double move here. And Vigoroth, those chunks, 2, 3, 4, down it goes.
Doesn't even get another body slam through. Not that there was still a shield on both sides as well. Joker still holding onto the shield. Was there a moment when he could have benefited from burning that shield?
He started with Ferrothorn into Shadow Machamp, and then it was the Jellicent into an Obstagoon. There wasn't really anything he could shield there that would, I think, change the outcome of that match. Those were really, really dominant matchups. And he was ABA weak. We talk about like the team comps, like he was ABA weak to the Shadow Machamp, right? His lead was weak to Shadow Machamp, and he had the Vig in the back, also weak to Shadow Machamp. He went to his hard counter right away, his only counter in the Jellicent, and Obstagoon came in. The Jellicent gets removed from the game. No shields are used. Shadow Machamp can just kill both those other Mons.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you'd certainly wish you could line it up just that little bit better. Like if you led the Jellicent, even if you didn't catch a Machamp, maybe you could get yourself in a situation where you could. Because what else did he? He had a Ferrothorn and he had Vigoroth against NCK's line of Golbat, Obstagoon, Machamp. So I guess you just want Jellicent. Kind of has to deal. What is he? He needs to land the Jellicent on the Shadow Machamp. Yeah. The Vigoroth on the Obstagoon. And the Ferrothorn on the Golbat, I suppose, and hope that he has like Thunder.
We only saw Power Whip. If it has Thunder or Mirror Shot, probably not that bad of a matchup. It's neutral wing attacks. you're throwing a neutral. No, it's probably pretty still Gallbat favored with the ability to throw neutral shadow balls and the neutral coming through. The bullet seeds doing 1 damage each because it's double resisted. Unless they had thunder, that would be a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah. Maybe we'll check how much damage does a thunder do to a Golbat from a Ferrothorn?
Let's find out, chat.
Let's tell you what, we're going to throw to a quick ad break, and we'll come right back after the ad break to kind of tell you how much damage a thunder does to a Ferrothorn. But I'll be back right after the ad break with you.
Is Gamers Heaven different from all the other shops that you may have been to? Outdoor seating? How about some ramen? Or boba tea? You have your standard retail, and more retail, gaming stations, more gaming stations, one-on-one setups with spectator screens, things like this when you can't decide on one thing, PC stations, future streaming booth, board games to play, this fitness room, eventually a custom D&D room, table space that's currently social distanced apart, theater room, 4K screen, small little arcade, lots of food options, drink options, more food options, and more frozen stuff too. It just keeps going. Most importantly, a kitchen for our previously mentioned ramen, boba tea, and our food. There's definitely a lot more to show you guys, so definitely follow for more content.
And we're back. And so, Ferrothorn.
Thunder, 70.7% to that Gallbat. So it would still take the Thunder plus another move to kill it. There's just no way you could Thunder once and ever bullet seed it down. So definitely not very Ferrothorn favored. If I hit this button, we can see here that Gallbat wins. Ferrothorn wins the zeros and ones if it can get a bait into a Thunder. Why is the Gallbat throwing straight Poison Fangs? Chat, that doesn't make any sense. Poison Fang dealing. Shadow Ball should be a better, because Poison Fang single resisted. Shadow Ball deals 50%. Oh, that's one of the quirks of PvPoke. It's awesome site. Love using PvPoke. Shout out to PvPoke for all they do for the community and providing us these tools. You're amazing, PvPoke. In this matchup, the Ferrothorn is no shielding the first Poison Fang, kind of 5-heading it. So if we make the Gallbat throw a Shadow Ball there, or the Ferrothorn shields that bait, the Gallbat definitely wins in all the even shield situations. So yeah, definitely, even with Thunder, not the matchup a Ferrothorn would want to be in. The Gallbat can mess up the match by throwing Poison Fangs that get no shielded, but if they just go Shadow Balls, should have a pretty solid time in that matchup.
So that means bringing in Ferrothorn at all into that line of 3, very, very, they were clearly trying to call something. They were like, this NCK guy, he's going to bring in Jellicent or something for Ferrothorn to kind of do something against. Other than that, I'm not really sure what would be.
Pretty positive matchup with the Jellicent. The only other thing it really has any even play against is the Bastiodon. So maybe he was trying to bring two. Maybe he thought NCK would bring the Bastiodon after seeing the Skarmory the previous game, and he could get the Ferrothorn on the Basti. But did not work out there the way Joker had hoped. And I think Nick really identified that Joker's team struggled against that 3 core, the 2 counter users and the Gallbat, and just running it back every game, changing the lead up to keep them off balance a little bit, but that core just able to utilize his shields and his energy really efficiently against those Mons from Joker's team to create a pretty one-sided game there in game 3.
Yeah, NCK just couldn't lose a lead. Couldn't
also true. Also true.
Joker was just following around at every turn, but unfortunately could not catch a single break. Because what was it in the first one? He led the he led the Obstagoon in the first one into Ghost. It wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't Bombstow.
No, I think
Bombstow came later.
It was the Jellison, right?
It was the Jellison.
I believe so.
Yes, we got Obscure versus Jellison in the first game. Then we went into the Golbat versus Vigoroth in the second game.
Mhm. And then the Shadow Machamp into Umbreon in game 3.
Yeah, that's rough. Very rough. And I think we saw Vigoroth swap out of that Golbat matchup instead of staying in.
Yeah.
Where Vigoroth could potentially have some play in that matchup regardless, because it was a bit more of a sort of neutral one.
Yeah, I think it loses the matchup, but it's close, right? Because Vigoroth's going to keep winning those CMPs and the body slams. 2 body slams does put the Golbat fairly low, but the Vigoroth would kind of struggle to counter it down with the double resisted counters. And so the Golbat has the edge there in the later situations where even though it has to potentially shield first, it can always get the farm down if it wants at the end of that matchup after throwing those Poison Fangs. But maybe the play there from the opponent's perspective when they see that matchup is just getting that Golbat low, right? Throwing those 2 body slams, going down, and leaving that Golbat on a farmable amount of health to try to get some kind of energy advantage. Because Shadow Machamp can struggle in some of these mons if they're up a little bit of energy, right? It really needs to shield those charge moves, and so maybe a Jellicent or something coming in and getting a little energy lead there could have set them up a little for a winnable situation somewhere further down the game. But the Goon there was also just really strong. Anytime that Vig was like taken out of the picture, the Goon just taken over games. Did get a boost in 2 of the games. One of the boosts didn't really matter so much. That boost in the last game, maybe that made Joker need to throw a move on his Vig instead of going for a bigger farm down. If that Goon had been, bubble beam down once and didn't get that boost, maybe they could tank like 1 cross chop and come out of that with maybe an extra half a body slam loaded. That might have put the Golbat or the Shadow Machamp under more pressure. But even then, he was left with the Umbreon in the back, and there was a Shadow Machamp, and the Shadow Machamp had shields. So just don't think that was going to flip that matchup. And welcome in everybody. Yeah,
maybe that's the thing. Maybe the foul play, the double foul play, was like trying to preserve the third move in case it was maybe it was a foul play Dark Pulse, and he didn't want to reveal that it was a foul play Dark Pulse.
Possible.
It's certainly hard to say.
Umbreon is a really good mon, even without the community move. And it's kind of like that. Last resort Umbreon is it's kind of like the IV thing. Like it doesn't matter except when it does. And so it's going to do its job against ghosts really well. It's going to do its job against like Bastiodons, some of these normal types, the neutral matchups. It does all that stuff really well. Great mon, bulky, has good pace with the snarl energy generation, and then foul play coming out pretty fast. And then it's kind of those bad matchups where you want the last resort, where it kind of gives you like a potential bailout if you get stuck in that bad matchup. But it's still a good mon without that. Like I wouldn't underrate a double dark Umbreon. It's just nicer having that community move if you have one, but not everyone does, and we are mindful of that. These players are bringing the best that they have to compete in this tournament, which is not always, the best of all possible things. And they're trying to make.
Speaking of the best of all possible things, the man, the myth, the legend, Speedy's Chief, he's in the chat. Hello, Speedy. How are you? Just saw the segue and was like, hey, let's go. Let's take it. Let's take it for a spin. But I think one thing we can do is pull up NCK's next opponent that we should see quite shortly. Teenage Wolf.
So we got a Shadow Golbat, a Shadow Machamp, a Alolan Marowak, Umbreon, a Mantine, and a Munchlax.
Interesting. Very interesting straight away. We've got four Pokemon that we're seeing across the board. Mantine and Munchlax. That is an interesting little combo. So Mantine is going to have a good time up against Alolan Marowaks that may appear, but I feel like the team is pretty well built to be very anti-Alolan Marowak already, especially with the Munchlax as well. Like that's Munchlax, Mantine, Golbat isn't great for Marowak. Umbreon. And then Marowak Mirror.
This is a very Alolan Marowak scary team. He does not want to bring, but I mean, looking at that team, it has two flyers. It has a Alolan Marowak, and even the Munchlax. Like this looks like maybe a good opportunity for that Bastiodon to come back out. There is one counter user on the other team. If you can keep that Bastiodon away from that Shadow Machamp, Bastiodon can really put in work against this line.
Yeah. I mean, Mantee's going to do a little bit back in return as well with the bubbles, assuming that it's a bubble, quick move, bubble beam.
Yeah, that is a hard call in this meta, right? Having the wing attack a little better against the against the fighters and against the other water mons like the Jellicents we're seeing, but having bubble a little better against the steel types, right? The Bastiodons, the Registeels we may see later, helps against the fire types like the Alolan Marowak, and I think a little bit better energy generation, but the damage is pretty close now after the bubble nerf a couple months ago at the start of season. That was middle of last season actually, so it's been a little while now since that bubble nerf. So interesting. We'll see what that bubble, and also they can run aerial ace or bubble beam and ice beam on that. So different options on the charge moves as well there. Be interesting.
It's certainly going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Just have to wait and see. They are locked in, so just waiting on Teenage Wolf to pick their team.
If it is that wing attack Mantine, it does, I think, have positive matchups against 4 of these 5 mons. So if I kind of expect to see it if it is wing attack. It just needs to stay away from the Bastiodon. But we'll see. Like Teenage Wolf, I mean, we haven't seen a team with a double flyer yet. So that's often something we'll see in these counter user heavy metas. Lots of Shadow Machamps, Obscune, Vigoroth, having 2 flyers on your line, a way to help scare those off or mitigate their impact. We've seen that in other metas before, but today this is the first team we're seeing bringing that double flyer.
Yeah. One interesting thing, neither of these players have charm. We haven't seen any charm uses this entire tournament yet from our perspective. They're certainly out there, but not here. And maybe that's because of this Golbat with the poison in the lead up against the Shadow Machamp. A pretty nice little spot as long as Machamp doesn't land a Rock Slide. Seeing the swap it into Munchlax. So we're going to see Obstagoon, right? We're going to see the Goon.
Definitely does not want to see that Shadow Machamp, and I think just going for this 1 debuff here, which should shut up that Goon for a full farm down here. Does not need a shield. I think it's going to tank 2 body slams here, but it's not going to mind that much at all.
Yeah, that does absolutely nothing.
And each of these licks dealing 1 damage, triple resisted ghost moves by this normal and dark Obstagoon. A little bit of lag here, but I expect that look pretty even. They're at a second body slam here, and NCK just going to go for this farm down, I think, and then have 2 cross traps to throw at that Shadow Machamp to try to threaten its life. Because Shadow Machamp does not really, although let's see if a counter comes through. Counter does come through. So this Goon's going to be fairly low. I think it survives this one, though, and should be able to get that second charge move off.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless Machamp happens to have a secret storage of energy and throw some charge moves out of the wazoo. But I'm kind of expecting them to let this one come through because he knows that the Golbat, she knows the Golbat's going to come through after this.
Yeah, but he knows the Golbat's out of energy and he has an energy lead now, so he can probably get to a Rock Slide here. I wouldn't expect them to bait. I don't think they can ever get to 2 moves in this situation. So just as he's a Rock Slide, he's going to shield that. And we'll see what can come in to try to clean up this Golbat and kill this Bastiodon that's lurking in the back. We get another poison fang and another chip and dip. J. Robin Saxon in the chat.
No.
Chip and dip with the debuff here. Not a good situation for this Umbreon. That Shadow Machamp could potentially farm this Basti down, but it just doesn't have enough health to ever get to 2 moves. So as long as NCK saves this shield, I don't see a way he can lose this game.
Yeah, he can pretty much just smack down. I think he might have to burn a charge move potentially at some point. I guess there's still a shield on the opposing side as well, but it's looking pretty NCK leaning at this stage.
Yeah,
in a pretty firm manner.
Umbreon, a lot of its bulk comes from that defense stat, so reducing the defense by that 1 stage makes a pretty big impact on its survivability here. And Smackdown, fairly efficient move. We don't think of it as doing a lot of damage coming from a Bastiodon because Bastiodon's so bulk. Oh, swap out. It's an interesting, trying to make a play here. The switch timers were desynced because that Poison Fang got thrown. And so trying to swap out here to see if he can get a farm down, but just lets it go.
Interesting. I guess they knew that if they burned the shield there, that Golbat was like immediately about to come out, and then it would just be the same game. Has cleared the debuff on the Umbreon as well, but we are seeing it come right back.
Yep, Golbat coming back in, throwing the Poison Fang. Wing attack damage going to add up some. The Bastiodon still, I think, out of 1 foul play range. So they would need to throw 2 foul plays at this Golbat and 1 at the Basti before they run out of HP. So making this a lot closer than I think I expected it to be, or maybe you did as well. But still just not quite enough HP on that Umbreon to make the comeback happen.
Yeah, very unfortunate, but it felt like it was pretty much called as soon as that Bastion landed up against that Umbreon. Once Umbreon came out, it was just like, oh dear, this is not going well at all. NCK pretty much has this one in the bag. I think I said just as much as soon as that came out. Now, obviously, there's a lot of times when casters like you or me might say this game is won, and then this game is not won. So you can't completely trust us when we say something like that, but it was a pretty rough spot to be in, no doubt.
Yeah, switch lock there away from the matchup that they wanted to be in, but looks like they're locked in for the next game. And Teenage Wolf bringing 2 flyers on the team, not bringing any flyers to the game. Game 1, Shadow Machamp, Umbreon, Munchlax, kind of a line designed to bait out maybe the Obstagoon and be able to farm it down with the Shadow Machamp. But just the back line there, double weak to counter users, and NCK catching the lead really with the Golbat. Let's see if he can catch the lead again here. Mantine comes out.
This is going to be interesting. We've seen the
Bubble.
Jellicent come in from NCK as well.
Yeah, no Shadow Machamp and no Bastiodon this game. Really changing up the line he's bringing. Fishing here for boost. The cross trap would be resisted anyways, so Night Slash just the better move here. And the Jellicent shielding up the first one. Usually an interesting choice because subsequent ones could be boosted. But if they're going for a debuff strategy here, maybe trying to get the debuff in, but they're not. They're just going Ice Beam.
Maybe they were faking out the strategy because, you know, when you are going, as you said, when you go for the debuff strategy, just going for bulk bubble beams, you're going to want to shield the first one and then not shield later ones. And maybe they shielded to feign like, oh, I'm going to throw a bubble beam. Ha! Half your Obstagoon's health is gone. You know, we're certainly seeing the health disparity here. NCK burning his first shield.
And now
he'd go for bubble beam bait.
Yeah, gets that Ice Beam off the first one with that next level play, and then getting a bubble beam here to lower his attack before this next Night Slash comes through. Mantine putting in a lot of work here against this Boostagoon. We'll see if it can live up to its name. Not this time. Might get to one more Night Slash here. Nope. Another move coming through from the Mantine. Will Nick shield again? Nope.
No shield is definitely the right play there.
Yep. Save.
Ooh, hangs on. Unfortunate. Because it means that Mantine does get an extra bubble of farm, which is clearly proving very deadly. Up against Jellicent, though, there's no reason to go for Ice Beams. Just bubble beam, debuff the thing as much as you can before Mantine goes down, if you're not going to switch, that is.
Yeah, I think NCK is just going to go for a big farm down here. Not really a reason to throw energy at this resisted matchup, and want to carry as much as he can with that energy lead and a shield advantage into the next matchup. And we see Nick has that Golbat in the back. And I'm looking at Teenage Wolf's line. I guess Umbreon would be the worst thing that could be lurking in the back there. It would not really care about this huge energy lead on the Jellicent, and has a pretty positive matchup against the Golbat as well. So hopefully for Nick, that would not be the case, because there's no real anti-flyer there. Golbat up a shield has a pretty good matchup against most of these things, except for that Umbreon is just so thick. But Nick gets, that's a big farm down. It's a lot of energy.
There is the Umbreon too. Instant, whoa, now this is an interesting play. So we've seen the instant swap into Golbat, and then the instant return swap into Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp trying to get some damage onto this Golbat, but that can't be a rock slide, can it?
It was not a rock slide. I only counted 6, so I didn't think it was a rock slide either. 2, 3, 4, and NCK going to throw this Poison Fang here to try to finish this off before it can now get to a rock slide. But that's a pretty big bait. That could really affect how this plays out from here. If NCK took that cross chop, he'd be at a little lower health, but still have a shield and be in a way better position against this matchup. But the debuffs are going to start coming out. That's one defense down. And that Jellicent has a lot of energy stored up for some bubble beams. This is gonna be one very debuffed Umbreon.
These Umbreon's gonna have 0 stats left at the end of this battle, and even if it comes out on top, it's gonna have nothing left. But Golbat tries to catch the move there onto Jellicent, successfully catching. Not tries to, does it? I don't think this is gonna take out Jellicent, and then Jellicent will be able to get the bubble beams off as well, fully charging the foul play as well. Potentially. I was going to say potentially undercharge it and then get some farm on the Jellicent, but the longer you farm, the more you're going to get Bubble Beam debuff. So it's like, give or take here.
We saw that Snarl come through during the first Bubble Beam animation, which means that the Umbreon wasn't pressing the move for CMP here, so he gets this second Bubble Beam off. And I don't think, this third Bubble Beam coming through. Now he's 2 stages defense down, 3 stages attack down. Umbreon is trying its hardest, but all the bulk in the world doesn't save you when you just have the timer coming back up. But just reducing Umbreon's stats so significantly, it's just not able to finish off that match. So Nick,
you know what?
Takes the next game.
That Umbreon deserves a medal. That put in such work, tried his hardest, but just not able to take away from the really strong position that NCK had himself in. But we are going to see what they do for the. How does the opponent need to adjust to take on this lineup?
I felt like
we saw NCK pretty much completely change the line.
Yeah, the main team lead was solid. It looks like we're going right back into it. Not that much time to think about. The main team leads felt pretty solid, so I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with that. Nick also maybe anticipating that, bringing his Jellicent here, because we saw it was that Bubble Mantine with Bubble Beam. Oh, brings an Fire Spin AWAC into a Hex Jelly. That's an uncomfortable situation.
What is happening here? I mean, I guess they're trying to keep their Mantine for a later matchup, but yikes, that's not this is not good.
Yeah, NCK can shield this and get a big farm down. A couple more hexes in. Yep, Shadowbone comes out. Defense down, maybe? No defense down. NCK 1 hex away from a Bubble Beam, a couple hexes away from a Shadow Ball. Down 1 shield, but up a full Mon, and still has his switch available. So whatever comes in here, he can throw a move and then swap out. We know it's that Mantine in the back, so I wouldn't be that surprised to see NCK go to the Goon here. But he probably goes to the Golbat. Interesting. With that 1 stage attack down, it probably takes 4 foul plays to kill a Golbat, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Be able to see this come through. Yeah, it's definitely less than a third. Yeah. So now the Mantine comes out.
So we're going to see a lot of charge moves being thrown in this matchup. So maybe, and the switch timers are obviously desynced as well. So maybe NCK's plays to try and just have as many charge moves thrown as possible and then swap out. Keep Golbat. Oh no, letting this come through. Hoping this is not a repeat for the first matchup where the Ice Beam came. Oh no, there's the Ice Beam coming through first.
I think he's pretty comfortable with that. Having the Hex Jellicent and this being a Bubble Beam, Ice Beam Mantine, he can just do what he did last time and just farm up here a bunch, throw some debuffs on that Umbreon, and then bring in his other Mon to finish it off. This feels like a pretty commanding position, even though he is down a shield. And just going for the kill here on the Mantine, not going for as big of a farm down, not messing around so much. Also probably trying to make sure, his switch timer is now back up now. So even if the opponent now swaps, he can mirror that swap, be in an okay position. Oh, they swap out to catch the Shadow Ball.
What a catch.
That's one way to try to make a way back into a game. Converting what would be a lethal Shadow Ball into a double resisted Shadow Ball.
That's a really solid play there. Umbreon's not going to do much up against his Obstagoon, unfortunately. Can maybe try and fish for a boost. Like I'd be hitting Night Slashes and then hitting none of the bubbles to do as little damage as possible while still maybe fishing for a boost chance. Although, you may as well just go for a farm down at that point, potentially.
Yeah, so the third last resort is lethal. So NCK just farming up here, probably throws a move shortly after this one. I don't know if he goes for a full farm down. We also know that the Mantine swapped out with energy. It did farm up reasonably before. Nope, Nick going for the full farm down. 100 energy, over the cap, couple extra counters anyways, wins CMP, and throw in fishing for boosts against this flying fish.
All right, are we going to get a booster goon to finish? No boost in that one. Ooh, okay. Did see a CMP tie there. So are we going to see a shield? It doesn't really matter either way because NCK does have this. Even if you let Obstagoon go down, Jellicent would do it. But, you know, this is NCK's mascot. This is his man. And his Obstagoon is going to be finishing the job if he can. And do we see a boost animation if we see it on the KO?
Yes, it would still light up the boost. So no boost there. But solid showing from NCK 228 and the Goon Squad.
Yeah, wow. Really? I mean, just NCK getting in so many just dominating positions, able to line his Pokemon up perfectly, able to, you know, get that Jellicent onto the Mantine and just leave nothing. Oh, actually, the opponent swapped out really early, you know, really interesting move into that Alolan Marowak. And I think that put them on a back foot really quickly.
Yeah, because it was their Mantine into NCK's Jellicent. They have the Umbreon in the back. That's their hard answer. But the other two, again, opponent putting this position where they're ABA weak to something, and NCK 228 just kept like leading that thing and just putting his opponent in just like, that's a horrible position. You never want to be in that position where you're like, well, if they lead this.
Yeah, so we're seeing some really, I guess we're seeing Nick just really identifying the weaknesses in teams and how he needs to play around stuff. So going, okay, I know that this is like this ABB sort of situation. So I'm going to kind of put my thing here, and it works out every time. I don't know how he's doing it. He must, be seeing, even though Nick's the one on stream, he's somehow seeing everyone else's cameras being streamed all around the world because he seems to know exactly what's going on at all times. It's ridiculous. It's not right. Something's going on here for sure.
So Nick's next opponent will be Telegraph Train. I've got his team pulled up here. It is a Registeel, Mantine, Alolan Marowak, Gliscor, Snorlax, Shadow Machamp. So we got another steel type here, but this is our first Registeel we've seen on stream. Has a little better matchup against some of these counter users than Bastiodon does because it only takes single super effective, and throwing back those flash cannons or those focus blasts, very threatening to an Obstagoon or a Shadow Machamp, who cannot really take those kind of big hits. And then also a Gliscor. That's a pretty interesting mon. Has a variety of moveset options. Could be running Fury Cutter, could be running Wing Attack, usually running Earthquake. That's their big finishing move, allows them to finish off other like steel types. And then maybe Aerial Ace or Night Slash. So Night Slash against the Ghosts probably pretty good. My guess would be Wing Attack, Night Slash, Earthquake. I think that probably has the best coverage in this meta. But a pretty interesting one. Resists counter, resists poison, has super effective moves for the ghosts and the steals. So pretty interesting typing. Not the bulkiest mon, but just kind of a good all-rounder. Might be something we see as like a safe swap out of Telegraph Train looking at these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of sitting here in awe. Like, Gliscor is a really good Pokemon in this meta. Like, I don't think there's, kind of looking at NCK's team, is there really anything that he can really fight back against it with? Like, Jellicent exists, and it's going to be able to do something, but it's going to be taking super effective for the Night Slashes. Golbat isn't really in a great spot because, as you said, poison resisted. Bastiodon is okay, but, Earthquakes exist.
If they can bait you or land, if they can either bait you with a Night Slash or just land the EQ, Basti's just got
howdy. And then Alolan Marowak going to take super effective damage from both Night Slash and Earthquake, but it'll just be straight Night Slash. Marowak and Obstagoon both going to take. I guess Obstagoon is really the best Pokemon out of the bunch.
Yeah, because it resists the Night Slash, so it has a little more play there. It gets to throw back the neutral Night Slashes, so probably the best matchup there against the Gliscor. Some of the other Jellicents we've seen have been running Bubble. That would be a better matchup then, but NCK running the Hex, Bubble Beam, Shadow Ball variant doesn't have the Ice Beam that would instantly delete the Gliscor, and doesn't have that Bubble to chip away with the super effective fast move. So probably a pretty awkward matchup there as well. So yeah, interesting team coming out from Telegraph Train. Another Shadow Machamp. I think we're kind of seeing a theme here. A lot of Shadow Machamps in the tournament. It was, I think, the top ranked mon in the meta, and for a reason. It does work. Its pacing is really good. It puts a lot of pressure on things. As long as you save shields for it, it can create some winning situations that you might not see coming. And NCK 228, I guess his best answers for that are the Golbat and the Jellicent. So probably see at least one of those on his line coming out.
I think Jellison, because we are seeing a Mantine again. So if we see Nick feeling it high from the last game, I'm going to get my Jellison on that Mantine again. This is going to go just as swimmingly as the last one. Could potentially bring that one out because it does have a really good matchup just across the board, really. Like there's the Snorlax, which is really going to put it in some pain. And I guess I'm actually kind of... Telegraph Train has built a very sort of anti-Alolan Marowak line again with a Snorlax, a Gliscor, a Mantine, Alolan Marowak for the mirror. It's just Registeel and Machamp, where Machamp can still get the rock slides off, and Registeel is, I guess, the only one that Marowak is going to convincingly defeat.
Yeah, that's that season one nightmare matchup. We're getting your Registeel locked in against someone's Alolan Marowak way in the way back. But no, I do. The Jellicent looks very strong here. It resists all the moves from the Registeel. Has a good match against that Mantine, like we saw last time. With the Hex Ball, Beam, Shadow Ball, it does a great job against any move set the AWACS running. Has not the best matchup against the Gliscor, but has some play there. It depends on what moveset the Snorlax is running. If they're just running Lick Body Slam Superpower, like you get debuffed a lot in that matchup before you can finally kill the jelly. But I think it probably still is Snorlax favored. And then the Shadow Machamp really struggling against the jelly as well. So probably see probably see that jelly come out from NCK, and feels like Telegraph Train almost like has to bring the Snorlax. Otherwise, they'll find themselves in a pretty awkward spot. But the two counter users make it really scary to bring your normal type. Nick, just a well-crafted team here, and they've been able to exploit his last two opponents' lineups pretty well. And we'll see if he can put together some similar plan to just annihilate Telegraph Train. But this Telegraph Train team definitely looks like it has a little better balance, a little more options with that Gliscor and the Snorlax that could be a little problematic for NCK. And also having that Registeel, just a better steel type than Basti in these kind of mirror games, because the Focus Blast is a huge hit against the normal types or other steels.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are actually just, while these two players are kind of getting the friend requests all sent through, which I think they've added each other, so just waiting for the battle request to go through, there are a few pools that have finished up as well. So we've got a few players that are confirmed to be moving on to bracket play. So we've got Toshi. Toshi has moved on to the final 12, which is going to be a pretty interesting game there. I've got Dilate. I think Dilap Churn came through to bracket play last in the last tournament, Johto Cup. We've got J. Robin Stacks, who's coming through as well. We're seeing Wilson W399, who's actually going to be playing J. Robin Stacks. We've got Aruken. Arun Kenareken. I'm awful at names, as it is clearly apparent. But because we do have 12 going through, some of these players are going to be going straight to the quarterfinals, whereas some will have an additional match. So that's something to look out for as well as we start to move on to bracket play. NCK still has this next match that they are just setting up ready to go in pools. Apologies, that's my stomach rumbling if it came through, which it probably did. But they've sent the battle request. They're picking their minds in the background. So what we've talked about, Jellicent is probably appearing. What else are we kind of thinking might appear? Look, NCK has run the double counter users before.
This lineup, it looks pretty scary for that, because his counter users have a neutral matchup with the other counter. Like, if that was a Vigoroth instead of a Shadow Machamp on Telegraph Train's team, I think double counter users would be pretty strong. But because it's that Shadow Machamp mirror, we're right into the battle. And NCK looks like he's called the lead again, with a Jellicent here locked in on this Shadow Machamp, and Shadow Machamp not swapping out yet. Nick hasn't swapped either. So both have the swap available. I mean, Rock Slide here isn't going to do very much. We didn't see exactly how many counters this was, but chat, I will. I don't know what I'll do if somebody with a Shadow Machamp payback something on stream. Put on a weird hat or something. I don't know. But this time it's a Wing Attack Mantine.
On that point.
Wing Attack Mantine coming out from Telegraph Train. A little better matchup against this Jellicent.
Yeah. Definitely not completely walled. Does eat a Shadow Ball, which is pretty unfortunate. And now we're seeing the Obstagoon swap in. Again, we've seen that Shadow Machamp on the other side. So getting kind of Obstagoon not out of the way, but kind of using it in another spot is definitely always beneficial. Connect Beam debuffed and does not burn the shield, which is really nice there. A little bit of lag, but it is mutual by the seams of things. Going to get this Night Slash off. Not sure if he's going to hit all the bubbles because this Mantine is like, ideally he'd leave with a little bit of energy, but also not too debuffed. So there might be a little bit of a balancing act here.
Yeah, he's going to struggle to counter it down now that he's at one stage down, and this might be another Bubble Beam. Nope, actually, Ice Beam coming through this time, putting the Obstagoon fairly low, down to about, there's 25% as he goes into the red. And this is, going for an aggressive farm here. Maybe trying to leave this Mantine on low health so we can farm it down with something else. I don't know how else I'd read that. Yeah, he could have thrown a move there to kill it and did not. So he clearly wanted this farm. So he's now got a counter up on his Shadow Machamp. And here comes what's he?
Ooh, okay. This is a bit of a rough spot for NCK here because this is a wing attack Gliscor doing tons of damage to the Shadow Machamp. Gonna try for Rock Slide, but this is gonna by no means take out the Gliscor. So, and there's still shields up.
Just neutral damage to the Gliscor, the flying super effective from rock, but then the ground type resisting rock, just neutral Rock Slide. But 2 shields in play on both sides. I think this is just going to be a bunch of wing attacks and a dead Shadow Machamp.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was trying to... Oh, actually, he's going to swap it into the other Shadow Machamp, taking it out before he can get a cross drop off. That's rough. So Jellicent is definitely going to be able to win this matchup, but getting really low. So I think going to have to burn a shield. We'll be able to get a full farm down then, and then it might be a game of shielding.
I think Telegraph Train stored a Night Slash on that Gliscor before swapping out, so he just came into the Shadow Machamp here, realizing that he just needs to get that shield out with a Rock Slide and then finish it off. But the Shadow Machamp doing all the work here. NCK knew he needed to have a move loaded or 2 for that Gliscor, but I think even in that case, the Gliscor wins CMP in that matchup, and so I think that there's kind of a checkmate situation from Telegraph Train. Once he got the Gliscor there, getting farm on the Shadow Machamp. We can
that's
that real quick while Nick chooses a line for game 2. But we saw both flyers come out from Telegraph Train.
Yeah, I mean, and it is that wing attack Mantine, so I guess we've seen both of those main 2 variations that we talked about in this tournament already. It definitely has that better time up against Jellicent, but it's not a great time. And we saw him kind of try and duck out of there in successful fashion. It all. So, how does NCK need to adjust? I mean, there's the chance of a Bastiodon.
Yeah,
especially seeing it's a wing attack Mantine.
That's true. Wing attack, man. Both of those flyers having wing attack as their fast move, double resisted by the Bastiodon. The EQ kind of scary, but like it takes a while to charge it up. As long as there's shields in play, I think the Basti does okay there. As long as you can make the right calls. He doesn't really have much else that looks like, an anti-flyer, right? The Goon okay in both those matchups, but really afraid of that Shadow Machamp. But I'm almost certain he'll it's NCK 228 and it's Obstagoon, and I think the Obstagoon's coming back. It's just a question of what he opts to bring with it. If he wants to bring that Basti to cover his flyers a little bit better. The Jellicent seems solid. So if we kind of narrow it down there, we got Obstagoon and Jellicent. He probably depends on what he leads there. If he's going to lead the Obstagoon, probably wants something else in the back that resists the counter damage. So if there's a Shadow Machamp lead, he can get out. And if he opts to lead the Jellicent, the things that Jellicent is kind of worried about on that other team.
There's the Snorlax.
Yeah, the Snorlax. Maybe Jellicent double fighter.
Okay, but we're actually seeing the Jellicent v Mantine in the lead. So again, Jellicent is a pretty good spot here. Just going to be able to soak up all of the damage from the Mantine. I feel like we're probably going to see a swap out, kind of like we saw before. I'm kind of thinking that Mantine is going to leave eventually. May not be yet. We may see some moves first. We may even see a Shadow Ball sneak through, which is what NCK is going to try and do, get the Shadow Ball through. But will it pay off is the question.
I think really interesting to note, NCK's back line right now is Obstagoon and Bastiodon. Both of those things are double weak to counter, and there could be potentially a Shadow Machamp in the back of Telegraph Train's line. I think NCK needs to swap out to one of those at some point to bring out that Shadow Machamp if it is here. Otherwise, he could find a situation where he is up 2 shields, and Shadow Machamp literally just counters down his back line.
This is one of those cases again where we've got that sort of A-B-B lineup where both of the Bs are really going to lose hard to that one Machamp. He's got the one counter in the lead, and it looks like he's playing it out. He's throwing the Shadow Ball. He's doing exactly what you're saying that he should not be doing. I feel like we're going to see Shadow Machamp come through, and it's going to be really rough.
Oh, maybe he can swap out here. Whatever comes in here, he needs to swap out. There we go. He swaps out to the Bastiodon. Here comes the Shadow Machamp. Does that Jellicent have enough health to kill a Shadow Machamp?
No.
I don't think that it does. I think it's going to get countered down. It got too deep into the red. He's going to shield here so he can make sure he gets this flamethrower off.
Yeah, which I think is the right play. And he's getting like a little bit more damage with the rock sides as well, with the smackdowns as well. But yeah, he just needs to take this thing out. And there's the shield. This is really rough. The opponent knows, like, I reckon he's got Obstagoon in the back. I reckon this is looking pretty good for me. Has to get to this bubble beam. Has to burn a shield.
Yeah, you have to shield this. You have to, like, you don't have a choice. But I think the Machamp's looking to move. The bubble beam's not going to be lethal. Maybe the Goon after a bubble beam. Oh, it depends now if the Machamp can counter this down. If the Machamp can counter this down and comes out with a move loaded, even debuffed once, that Obstagoon's going to be in trouble. Maybe he could swap here and try to.
Ooh.
He's seeing CMP.
There's hope here. There's hope.
a wild win condition has appeared. He undercharges and swaps out. If the Snorlax is carrying superpower, this is still a pretty dangerous position. We'll find out
if it doesn't
right away.
What?
Is there any superpower?
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Oh, so much health loss.
Throw the crop drop. Throw.
In Ultra League, the Goon can survive that and still be in a pretty healthy spot. But in Great League, with the lower stat caps, Obstagoon looking a little glassier, not really able to survive that meaningfully. And Snorlax going to body slam this Jellicent to death. Double resisted charge move.
There was a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope. It could have happened.
I thought he had a chance there. The undercharge was really heads up by Telegraph Train. The instant swap out, really good. The swap out also really heads up. Just well played by both players, but just a tough position to be in, leading that ABB line and them having the thing in the back you don't want to see, and letting your main counter there, the Jellicent, get just so low on HP that the Machamp can really threaten its life. Like if you keep a little more health there, if you swap out a little sooner, maybe in a better position, maybe after he gets the shield, once he's up that one shield, if he was able to swap out there with the Jellicent still about half health and up a shield, then it can afford to finish off that Machamp after it farms down the Basti. Might have been a little stronger play than waiting for his opponent to die and bring in the Snorlax.
I mean, look, what it all really comes down to is that NTK did not swap out in the ABB lineup. He just needed to get out of there, leave his Jellicent later on. It was a lot closer than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
He really just needs to kind of stick to his guns. We are going with the Bastion. Oh, no. Okay. At least we're going to see NTK swap out this time into a Golbat. So he has 2 counters to Machamp in the back. He's playing ABB right in this case, and we're seeing Mantine come in with Golbat with the energy advantage. He's going to be able to throw the Poison Fang to debuff the Mantine, and then maybe go for a Shadow Ball to. I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to take it out with a single stage debuff. Gets the shield. Wow, this is a pretty good start for NCK.
The question is, do you shield here? This could be an Ice Beam, could be a Bubble Beam. Throws up the shield, hoping for an Ice Beam here, and it is.
Great call. And it was a pretty big risk. Like, I mean, NCK got Ice Beam before, does not want to repeat of that. Doesn't want his Golbat taken out. Wants to get this Shadow Ball onto the debuff. And it goes through. Oh, man, one more Poison Fang. He could potentially burn a shield and take this out, or call that this is a Bubble Beam. Does burn the shield. Thinks it's an Ice Beam.
I mean, he's really
And that
desperate to
would
win switch here. He has a Bastiodon and the opponent has a Shadow Machamp. He is willing to go down as many shields as it takes to win switch here. And gets the farm down. That's pretty nice.
just. That's really clutch. You're going to be able to throw Poison Fang or maybe even a Shadow Ball into whatever comes in. Okay, Gliscor, Poison Fang, going to be resisted, but still going to debuff this Gliscor. And then I guess it's going to be down to Bastiodon to take it out. There's no more shields left on NTK's side, which means that this Gliscor is going to be able to farm down
shield.
at... wow.
Yeah,
This actually
Gliscor-
might be okay then.
Gliscor probably going for the farm down here, but I mean, honestly, from this position, the Jellicent might be able to kill both Mons. Oh, that's Gliscor a little tankier than maybe I gave it credit for. After one defense debuff, still really, looking kind of healthy here. But he's throwing the Night Slash, which means he doesn't have energy stored up for this Bastiodon that's coming out,
Ooh.
and executing the ABB to perfection. You lose lead, you go to your safe swap, you go down shields, whatever it takes. I want alignment here. Gets the alignment he wants. And this Jelly should be able to finish off the Shadow Machamp. I mean, he needs to finish off the Shadow Machamp. One more rock.
Hey, maybe Bastiodon can do it this time. Bastiodon's going to get the rematch. But yeah, Shadow Ball going through. Machamp goes down. In comes the Gliscor. Can maybe get a Bubble Beam off. Maybe? Not quite.
Nope, gets the Night Slash off here, but now the Gliscor's so low, it's just going to get smacked down before it can get to an Earthquake against this Bastiodon. And that should be GG in game 3. So NCK losing this match, but taking the 1-game win, which may come down to tiebreakers for this bracket. I was looking at this pool earlier. It didn't look like anyone was undefeated. So actually, Dre. No, there doesn't look like there's any undefeated player in this bracket. So it may come down to tiebreakers, and taking that game 3 could be pretty big for NCK's odds of getting into the final elimination tournament.
We've actually just seen the other game in their bracket finish up, and it looks like Telegraph Train will be going into bracket play. NCK, I guess, just being beaten out by tiebreakers, unfortunately, with that 2-0. Oh, 2-1, sorry.
Well, 7. Yeah,
I'm just looking at the bracket here.
Taking one more game there, potentially could have gone through. I still see the bracket showing 2-0, not 2-1 yet.
It looks like all of NCK's games have been entered in as just the last 3 rounds have been entered in as 2-0s instead of 3s. But purely on wins here, Telegraph Train's got 3 rounds. NCK only got 2 rounds.
Okay. Yeah, just those.
Okay, so Telegraph Train won 3 rounds out of the 5 rounds.
All right, so let's go look at this final tournament bracket, see who else has popped in here. We got Toshi, Speediest Chief, Dial-Up Chang, Dre. I show Dre coming through from that bracket now.
Oh, Rip. Oh, things might be moving around.
Yeah, as the results.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that it put it in there before it finished finals bracket. But yeah, I see Dre coming through from that bracket. J. Rob Stacks, Wilson, the name that we cannot pronounce. I'll give it
this out, Ninja.
You went for it once, I'll go for it. It's a Arukenariken.
We might go Ken. Ken might be a good shorthand.
Yeah, I like Ken. Ken's good.
Ken works. But one thing that we're going to quickly do before we continue on here is throw to a real quick ad break. So do stay around. We'll be right back immediately after the ad. Don't go anywhere.
Is Gamers Heaven different from all the other shops that you may have been to? Outdoor seating? How about some ramen? Or boba tea? You have your standard retail, and more retail, gaming stations, more gaming stations, one-on-one setups with spectator screens, things like this when you can't decide on one thing, PC stations, future streaming booth, board games to play, this fitness room, eventually a custom D&D room, table space that's currently social distanced apart, theater room, 4K screen, small little arcade, lots of food options, drink options, more food options, and more frozen stuff too. It just keeps going. Most importantly, a kitchen for our previously mentioned ramen, boba tea, and our food. There's definitely a lot more to show you guys, so definitely follow for more content.
Ladies and gentlemen, the host with the most is back. I'm Dragonite, and I'm here with a break-in on the Nexus League Antimatter Cup. Now, for you guys that are viewing in the chat, and some of you that may be new, or some of you that have come in towards the tail end or midpoint of this tournament, rather, we are just closing up the pool play. So out of 12 different pools, battlers have battled in a round-robin format to play against every opponent that they've been matched up against. Now, the conclusive total cumulative score, so the best wins versus losses, has moved forward. We've got about 3/4 of the pools. I believe about 8 of them have concluded. And we do have Jay Robin, who is going to be our featured streamer moving forward, at least for his round, until, you never know, there might be an upset. But we're going to be hanging on with Jay as long as they have a winner's bracket run here. But before we jump in, I do want to thank our sponsors. We have not had an option to talk about them yet today. I do want to thank our sponsor, Gamers Heaven. They are a LAN center in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. They have franchised and are now potentially going to a place near you, but they are interested in hosting a lot of Pogo LANs. They have helped us with Halo, Rogue Company. I mean, you name it, AAA titles, they're here for it. So they have been nothing but instrumental in Antimatter's success. So, I do also want to thank, of course, we have a new sponsor, Glitch Energy, who has now partnered with Antimatter, and you can use code Antimatter for 20% off of any of those purchases. They have been kind of touted as the G Fuel killer. So if you're not a G Fuel person yourself, you may find something with Glitch Energy. And last but not least, our apparel sponsor at Sourdog. They have kept us in our fresh threads at an entry-level price, but with a true premium streetwear level branding. And we might happen to have some pretty cool Nexus League merch on the site. If anybody is interested in that, you can find that here in the chat. But guys, I am going to throw this back to my casters. We had to give a shout out and a great group of thanks to the people who are allowing us to put on this event. And in closing, before I pass, we have to say that this is powered by Facebook Gaming, who is handling a large majority of the prize pool and the production for this. So we have to thank them. But guys, casters, you know far more than I. You are the men for the motion. Take it away.
And Steve's muted. Welcome back, battlers and chat. Welcome in.
And we're back. I'm back. Oopsie daisies. This is a well-oiled machine. I'm a professional, I promise. But yeah, we are back. We're going to be going into bracket play, and we're going to be taking a look at Jay Robin Stacks as he enters into bracket play. So this is the final 12. Jay Robin Stacks, because he had one fewer match in the pool play, will be playing an extra match up against Wilson. That is Wilson. I'll get the numbers correct. I've got Wilson W399. So Ninja, take us through the teams. What are we going to be looking at?
Yes, we got J. Robin Stacks running a Jellicent, Sableye, regular Machamp, Granbull, Skarmory, and Bastiodon. And Wilson W399 running Umbreon, Snorlax, Jellicent, AWAC, Alola Marowak, Skarmory, and Shadow Machamp. Now, I'm really curious on J. Robin Stacks' choice to run regular Machamp. And like, if I had to, I mean, if you're running regular Machamp, that might be a Community Day Machamp. It might be.
Oh, that's a very interesting observation. Potentially, we may see some payback action going on. That's I never would have thought about that.
I don't think anybody wants to Elite TM their best Shadow Machamp to payback, but in this meta that is fairly Ghost heavy, having payback potentially a game changer. So might see that on that. Regular Machamp might be why they're using that one with maybe a Community Day move, but also we see the Bastiodon there. Both these teams running just the single flyer, the Skarmory. Wilson, Jared Sachs, the first fairy we've seen this tournament. The Granbull, maybe Charm, maybe Snarl. We're not sure. We might see that in one of these games. If it is Charm, what it has to look out for is that Alolan Marowak and the Skarmory. If it's Snarl, has kind of an interesting matchup with a lot of these mons. Close combat, very threatening to the Umbreon, the Snorlax, and the Shadow Machamp, and then the Crunch. Pretty threatening for the Ghost types. So interesting potential play either way. And then
I do wonder if Snarl may potentially be the better way to go, just because you do have that more sort of, you've got a lot more coverage because you become less of a fast move Pokemon, you become more of a charge move Pokemon, where Crunch can really do a lot of work in this meta. As much as when I first saw the teams, I was like, this is going to be first Charmer. It feels like, even though Charm is super powerful, can really just put a hard clamp down on that super powerful Shadow Machamp. We've seen, running tears as long as they've got shields. Shields don't protect Shadow Machamp from Charm, let me tell you that. But
Yeah.
Snarl might be the better play here. Wilson's got 2 ghosts. They've got 2 bulky things that are weak to fighting damage with that Umbreon and the Snorlax. Close combat is going to give yourself a debuff, so we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. What's Jay likely to run up against Wilson here? Gramble's an option. Jay's Bastiodon has some play as well.
I think that the Sableye has a really interesting matchup against most of these mons from Wilson. It has a really good matchup against the Jellicent, the Alola Marowak. Has a decent matchup with Shadow Machamp. That matchup can be flipped pretty readily by any kind of energy advantage in either direction. Also, it's a decent matchup with the Skarmory. Snorlax matchup, not great, but the foul plays are neutral, and it double resists the body slams, so it's not a bad matchup for Sableye, directly speaking. And then a Sableye versus Umbreon, closer than it seems like it should be if this is, and we would expect it to be a purified Sableye running Return. Return does big damage even to an Umbreon. But looking at the teams now and looking at them a little heavier, like if Jay was expecting to see any dark types, I think that Granble's probably Charm, because the only other real answer he has for like an Umbreon, the Bastiodon can like barely edge it out. The Skarm can like maybe win if it's up a little bit of energy and can land Brave Bird, but like the Machamp's the only real solid answer to a dark type on his team. And even that doesn't really answer like a Sableye. So I do really think that actually would probably be a Charm Granbull. Otherwise, he would really struggle against a Sableye or an Umbreon if he could not line up the Machamp. Like normally, teams, you want to try to have 2 reasonable answers for anything that your opponent's line might have. And looking at that team, it just doesn't have a good answer for a Sableye or a Dark type, other than if that is a Charm Granbull.
Yeah, Bastiodon also has some play up against the dark types. It's obviously not it's not exactly a counter. It's not what a Charm Granbull would be able to give you onto your team. So you might be right in that regard, or maybe that's part of the mind games. Maybe it's part of the plays. It's like, you reckon this is going to be a Charm Granbull, don't you? We're going Snarl all the way.
Yeah, could catch an AWAC off guard with that. That's definitely a mon that would really really those matchups are quite different. If they're mind gaming you like that. But both teams, the Skarmory, both teams, the Jellicent, these like kind of neutral generalists, and then just kind of a different choice on what the tanks are. So we'll see how that comes into play. I'm really curious about that Machamp, why it's a regular Machamp, and if he's running payback for all the ghosts in this meta. Just looking at the meta, that would have been very, very clear to anyone building their team, like, there's gonna be a lot of AWACs and Jellicents. Machamp kind of struggles in those matchups, but payback is a lot of damage.
I'm really hoping that you're right. I hope there's payback, and because we are going to be watching J. Robin Stacks' screen, we are going to see if it's payback one as soon as if he uses it, I guess, as soon as it appears on screen with its moves. I wonder if, there's also the chance, maybe it's out there, that he just doesn't have a Shadow 1 built. Yeah. And this is just the only Machamp that he's got running around. We don't know what J. Robin Stacks has got in his inventory. He's a pretty good battler, so I would imagine that he does have a Shadow running around. It's a pretty good Pokemon in pretty much every format. It's good in Great League, it's good in Ultra League, it's good in Master League. It can appear everywhere. It's good in pretty much every meta that it's allowed in. It's obviously like one of the best Pokemon, if not the best, in this meta, the Antimatter Cup. I hope you're correct. I hope we see payback, and I hope we see payback land on something. If we see it lands on a Alolan Marowak, it lands on a Jellicent, that would just be absolute wow. And maybe, maybe they get scared. Maybe they burn a shield on a potential payback. Who knows?
Yeah. And I expect to see that Machamp. Like, just looking at these 2 lines, the Charm, if it's Charm Granbull, feels kind of high risk with a Skarmory and an AWAC over there, and so the Machamp's kind of his best answer to the Umbreon and the Snorlax that feels kind of more balanced. It has some coverage for the things it's weak for. So I kind of expect to see the Machamp. And so I think we'll find out when they get into the game if that's what he's running there on the Machamp, if he's running Payback or just the Rock Slide. Trying to see what else here. I mean, the Bastiodon has pretty good matchups against most of these Mons. The Snorlax running Superpower is a little scary, and then obviously the Shadow Machamp, he wants to keep the Bastiodon away from that at almost any cost. But it beats the Umbreon, it beats the Jellicent. We don't know if it's got the Hex or the Bubble. Bubble means it has a decent match against Bastiodon. Most of the Jellicents we've seen have had a Hex, and that's not a good match with the Basti. Basti pretty good against AWAC, and Basti is the nightmare for Skarmory, and has been since its walled face crawled into Pokemon Go. Skarmory's everywhere have been just traumatized, looking behind trees to see if that wall face is there.
I think that was like March 2019. Bastion first came out, and then April is when it kind of hit the scene in at that point there was no Go Battle League. It was just like Sylph Kingdom Cup. Came April. And that's when it was all Bastiodon V Flyer. Can you get the Basti on the big old Skarmory, the Altaria? It is just death. And even if you got Brave Bird, even if you got Flash Cannon, nothing is saving you from a wall-faced just boom, boom. I'm throwing rocks until you are gone forever.
I don't expect to see today, but which is, if chat at home, if you ever really want to mess with a Bastiodon, you know there's going to be a Bastiodon somehow, you're going to play against this Bastiodon. Steel Wing Flash Cannon Skarmory can beat Bastiodon. If you land the Flash Cannon, you can farm them down if you shield twice, and you come out with 100 energy, and you can throw 2 Sky Attacks at something. But that really hurts most of your other matchups as a Skarmory to be running Steel Wing. Don't recommend it. Have tried it before. It's not great, but you can beat Bastiodon with that Skarmory.
Look, if they're running a Steel Wing Flash Cannon Skarmory, I will find a hat and I will eat it, because that would be one of the greatest move surprises of all time.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good in this meta. Looking at the meta and looking at the air slash damage is really pretty good neutral damage against most of the things, and there are a lot of water types in AWACS that are going to resist Steel Wing, and the air slash is super effective against the fighters, which are really an important matchup for Skarm in this meta. So I don't think we'll see that, chat, but you got to keep that in mind when you see a Bastiodon on a Skarmory. Some Skarmories can kill Bastiodon.
I mean, it might be good up against Granbull, better than Skarmory already is, which is really good.
Super effective Steel Wing against the fairy types. Yeah,
so it does improve 2 of its matchups, and then probably makes the other 4 all worse.
And
that's against this. That's against this specific team of 6. There's many other Pokemon that exist, and obviously they've gotten this far. They've gotten through pool play. They've topped their pool. They've landed in bracket play. Mm-hmm. If they manage to do that with a Steel Wing Skarmory, then mad props. Mm-hmm. They deserve eternal respect. If they come out with a Steel Wing Skarmory, they should probably just move on. Probably just get the win at that point.
Yeah, it also I think Steel Wing is a little bit favored in the mirror, because it's the way the break points work on the Steel Wing versus the air slash. The Steel Wing just adds up a little bit more damage, and you get the KO before they can get to the extra lethal Sky Attack, because they're generating energy slightly faster with air slash. So kind of helps them, but we're trying to talk ourselves into a chat, but I don't think it's going to happen. The Payback Machamp definitely seems more likely, and we'd be equally as exciting, I think, for us here if we can see that. Looks like more of the brackets are finishing up. 1, 2, 3, say yeah in from that pool. Let's see, go back to the brackets. Who else?
Hitting refresh.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got Rise through to the quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We're going to see. So in this round 1, so final 12 of the people with the extra matches, we've got 1, 2, 3 say yeah against someone from pool 8 that hasn't closed out yet. We're going to see Wilson versus J. Robin Stacks here in a sec. We've got Dre coming from NCK's pool up against Dialap Chung. We're seeing It's Jason Bourne 3 up against Toshi. And then I've got all 4 of the other players who are going straight to the quarterfinals have been selected. So whoever wins between 1, 2, 3 Seiya and the Pool 8 victor is going to be up against Rise to Occasion. We're going to see the winner of this match that we're going to see here, Wilson versus J. Robert Stacks, up against Are You Ken Arkan. Are You Ken Arkan. Thank you, J. Robert Stacks, for letting us know that. We can say that now. We can say that name. We've won it. And then we've got the winner of Dre up against Dai Lap going up against Creaser, who again performed really well last time. And then the winner of It's Jason Bourne at 3 versus Toshi going up against Speediest Chief, which no matter who goes through, that is sure to be a very hype matchup. So tons of really good battles have come through. Tons of good battlers that still going to be knocked out as we hurtle towards the finals, where the winner is going to take away $400 out of this 1,000 prize pool. Second place taking 300, third place taking 200, and fourth place taking 100. Where there will be that I hate saying losers bracket between 3 and 4, but I guess it technically is third place match. That's a much cleaner way to put it, to decide who comes away with the 300, the 200, and the 100 from the losers of the semi-finals. But we're only like a few rounds away from the final match. We're really closing in.
We got two players from the Mazer team still in the bracket that made it through, Rise and Speediest Chief. And then Toshi here representing Elite Four. The Mazer player, Rise, took the first Antimatter, that was Kanto Cup, first Antimatter tournament. And oh no, Elite Four member House Stark taking the second tournament in the Johto Cup. I was going to get there with his
come on, Ninja, you were here.
His sweet little Growlithe logo. How could we forget his coat of arms with the Growlithe on it? Everybody loves House Stark. Awesome member of the community. And we'll see if Elite Four can claim number 3, or if Mazer can reclaim the crown, or if one of these other very, very strong battlers from other walks can take that prize money home. We'll be getting into that pretty soon.
There's still that Pool 8 to finish up as well. And in Pool 8, there is Ali Lucky there representing Mazer as well. It looks like all of the matches have played, but there hasn't been a winner selected. So maybe there's some tiebreaker rounds going on in that pool. I'm seeing a lot of players that have kind of won, lost, one sort of scenarios. There may be some sort of tiebreaker going on to decide who the victor of Pool 8 is potentially. But we'll just have to wait and see on that front, I suppose. Lots of, it's not the most exciting thing to watch. It's just number crunch, I guess. We could do it. We could figure out who's got the most wins, who's got the most rounds, but that is what the Antimatter guys on the back end are all working on very, very hard and tirelessly. Thanks to the Antimatter guys for all of the effort that they are putting in to keep this tournament running nice and smooth.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go look at some of these other teams. Rise to Occasion running a Drapion. That's kind of the spicy thing you see on his line. Scrolling down with Speediest Chief 2 running in a Scavalier. Hadn't seen one of those yet in the tournament. Who else? We got Rise, Speedy. 1, 2, 3, say yeah. It's going to be at the top of the list. What are you running? 1, 2, 3.
Elicent, Frostlass, and Togekiss.
Togekiss. Wow. Two counter users, 2 flyers, 2 ghosts. A pretty balanced looking team there from 1, 2, 3, say yeah. That definitely can put your opponents in a tough spot. And Togekiss.
Think about the ABBs they can run. They can...
Flyer double normal double flyer, normal double go. Yeah, there's a lot of potential options there in that team to ABB people and put them in a tricky position. Let's see who else we got. Creaser. What did Creaser bring today? Creaser.
Shadow Machamp, Gastrodon. We've seen a Gastrodon flip to a Ferrothorn before, but we're going to assume that he's a Gastrodon. Umbreon, Skarmory, Alolan Marowak, and Sableye. So relatively standard lineup there, with the Gastrodon being a pretty interesting Pokemon with that. And it's got access to Mud Slap, which can really punish things like Alolan Marowak.
Mm-hmm.
Although,
and also Bastiodon, right? Double super effective against Bastiodon.
Yeah, that too can definitely really hit the steals pretty hard.
Yeah.
Alolan Marowak is a Pokemon that, while I think everyone so far has had an Alolan Marowak, it hasn't been used very often because there's been so many counters all over the place. Like we've seen it here or there. We saw that one. I think we're only seeing one actually in action,
Mhm.
if I'm remembering right.
And tanked a Shadow Ball from a Jellicent and died. that was our Alolan Marowak cameo on the stream. It swapped into a loaded Jellicent, tanked the Shadow Ball, and died. That's the Marowak we've seen so far today.
And I guess maybe that's why, because I guess there's a lot of Dark running around in Obstagoons and Umbreons, and even in like Night Slashes from Gliscors, Gliscor. I feel like most people say Gliscor. Is it Gliscor or Gliscor? I feel like it's probably Gliscor.
Whichever one you like better, Steve.
Hey, I'm going with Gliscor. It's gliding, man. Whee! Glide score, but it looks like J-Ron Stacks has got the friend request sent in the background, so we'll be coming into the matchup very shortly. So just hang on a little bit longer, and we'll be going in with that matchup. But what other teams have we got kind of lying around in going into this bracket play? I've also got. We're going straight into it.
Yeah.
All right, so just wait for Wilson to pick his team, and we'll go in. Dun dun dun. So call the lead right now. Tell me what J-Robin Stacks is leading.
It's the Payback Machamp. Oh, Basti.
If only.
And that's a bubble Jellicent. This is not a great situation for the Bastiodon.
And we do see the Machamp in the Granbull in the back. So if it's a Snarl Granbull, not a terrible spot to be in up against Jellicent. If it's Charm, I don't actually know the Charm Granbull versus Jellicent matchup, but I would imagine that it would be kind of back and forth-ish a little bit.
But it'd be pretty dangerous to swap into that because the Jellicent's probably just going to Bubble Beam you, which really reduces your damage output with Charm, and then it's probably going to dip out. So it'd be a pretty tough swap in there. So it looks like he's just staying in here, able to take a shield, and we'll see if he just essentially sacks this Basti to just get like a shield advantage and maybe get a farm down on something. As long as the Basti like doesn't die with the Jellicent loaded, like a couple charms will make pretty fast work of something from a Granbull if that's what he's running. If he's running Snarl, I think he can like CMP if the Jellicent did not have any energy. He can CMP that crunch when it gets to a Bubble Beam, which would be pretty favorable. But I mean, we've seen some Machamps in the back up shields do some real work, and there's a Machamp lurking in the back here. That's a Jellicent that's dying. That's one of the best counters that Wilson has to that Machamp, and it's at very low health. And
it does have energy though, and we're seeing it. Is it? That's a charm.
Second charm comes through. Is this Bubble Beam? Is this a Shadow Ball? Bubble Beam.
That's rough. That's really rough for J-Robin Stacks. No more shield advantage, unfortunately. It does have like, a 2 charm advantage. And we're seeing a Alolan Marowak in the back. So it does have the crunches ready to go here. This would be a much better matchup if it was a Snarl Granbull. We'd be getting these crunches way faster, as is going to be a little bit rough because I think a Marowak is going to be able to take out the Granbull, especially landing that Shadow Bone.
He's really kind of getting to this crunch here to maybe force out the shield and then get to a move on the Machamp before the AWAC can KO.
Ooh.
But he just no shields the crunch because that's the Bubble Beam debuff right there, right?
Yeah.
That Marowak would not have survived that if they'd had the 20-25% more damage.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty rough. And not going to be able... Oh, is he? He's going to be able to counter down? Oh, whoa.
Just gets there. Okay.
I don't know.
2 ghosts down and an Umbreon in the back. 2... Timing is going to be really important here because I think he's in range where one last resort will KO the Machamp. So he needs to try to be able to get to 3 moves here. He also does have...
Is that an overcharge?
Yeah, so the opposing Mon is at a move, but this was not CMP, so he should be able to throw this one and then get off this other.
What is happening?
Really dangerous over tap there by J-Robin Stacks. I think that if Last Resort came through there, he'd be in a really, really bad spot. But maybe the opposing Umbreon trying to get him. Catches the move. But if the Umbreon can get to 2 foul plays, the foul play is definitely enough here, and the Machamp's fairly low. but does not get there.
He does it.
Does not get there.
Ooh, that was a crazy little finish, though.
That was a very close game. Like that was J-Rum's timing on his moves was pretty important there, trying to minimize the number of free snarls that came through, and it really did come down to like maybe a turn, maybe 2 turns there. If the Umbreon was able to throw a foul play, I think it would take down that Machamp from that about 30%. You could look that up real quick. That might be important. Maybe they thought they needed to go for a last resort. Maybe they knew they needed to go for a last resort. That's why they didn't throw right there.
Maybe they were like preparing for the Grand Ball catch. They were like, I don't want to get this move caught. I don't want to get this move caught, not realizing the switch timer wasn't quite up yet. They knew it was close. They might not have known how close it was. So maybe just trying to avoid that. There's been, I've lost plenty of games holding on this energy because they're going to do the swap and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hit the one quick move to take it down and then I'm going to throw the energy afterwards. Mm-hmm. And then it never happens. It did happen. Unfortunately, at the exact wrong time for Wilson. J-Robin Stacks just playing it as perfectly as he could in that instance. And it really could have gone the other way very easily.
Saving that Gramble at low health was really, really important there. Like, because it does force that Umbreon to, like, the Umbreon can't snarl it down from as much health as it had. So the Umbreon had to throw a move that Gramble, and he couldn't afford to even farm any there because the charm would come through and would have, really just... he would have no health left after that charm. It would have been just a sliver. So he had to throw right there, right away into the Gramble when it came in, whether it was like an actual catch or if Jay was trying to snipe and he got the move off. We'll see what they adjust their teams to in game 2. J-Ram Stacks in a tricky spot, but brought the Sableye this time. And now we see Sableye into Umbreon.
Not a great matchup. He's okay because he does have the energy advantage, so can get this return off pretty quick smart. And with the Ghost Dark typing, it's not taking super effective from this, but it still hurts. Sableye's in a super tanky Pokemon, so overcharging here, going for the return now.
Syncing up his fast moves there. So he threw 3 Shadow Claws to sync up with the 2 Snarls there, trying to let as few free turns through as possible because he really, really wants to get this second return if he can. But the Umbreon's throwing right away. Doesn't want to risk any of that. But J-Ram Stacks, you have a Bastiodon and they have a Machamp.
Whoa! I'm actually a little bit surprised they didn't go for the foul play there. I'm not sure if they thought that they could get to the return or if they were just going to keep the health in this Umbreon to farm down with the Bastiodon.
If they can get up to 2 moves here, it could potentially threaten that Machamp. We've seen Machamp, and from Wilson, we've seen the Machamp lead and this Umbreon. The Machamp also weak on Jay's team. Yeah, I'm curious what they're running in the back with these 2 Mons.
Scummery.
Yeah, the Basti just farming up here. It any health it has is just fuel for the Machamp, so he wants it to be as low as possible. And if he can get to, ideally he wants to be in a position where he survives 2 counters, because that allows him to throw the extra smackdown to get off the 2 moves.
He definitely can survive 2 counters at this range. There's one though coming through. There's Flamethrower.
But it looks like he didn't quite get the 100 energy, so it might take an extra smackdown here. He just swaps out. As soon as he gets that shield advantage, swaps to the Jelly. I like that play to put pressure on the Shadow Machamp.
We don't know what's in the back yet.
Jealous, but the Umbreon's already out of the way, right? And there's nothing else on Wilson's line. Maybe the Snorlax would be the next worst thing that could be, but it is that Skarmory like you called.
Yeah, okay. So gonna go for the Bubble Beam to try and reduce the attack first. Hope to get the shield. Really hoping to get the shield here, because otherwise it could be a lot rougher for J-Ram Stacks as we go on. Does not get the shield, unfortunately. We'll see. It looks like he's going to be going for the Shadow Ball to try and land on this Skarmory. Doesn't have 2 shields, so Bastiodon's going to be able to completely wall face Skarmory.
Yeah, and he does, like, the switch timers are desynced, so there's a very real chance that he can get this Jellicent out with a move loaded and bring that Bastion on this Skarm. He just, he just doesn't have enough time. Just doesn't have enough time. If that switch timer had been a little bit further along, he could have stored this move and swapped out, but as it's going, the Skarm's air slash is going to take it down.
Interesting throwing the charge move on Jellicent, but I guess really doesn't want to get a Bubble Beam. Ooh, and shielding. Yeah, I'm assuming doesn't want to get Bubble Beam debuffed on the Machamp, but...
And he gets to a Bubble Beam.
He gets it. Whoa.
That reduces the damage.
That's
The
huge.
Machamp return to the Basti. Can the Basti get to shields? Can the Basti get to
Whoa.
the flamethrower?
Oh my gosh. Has the shield.
That's CMP. Yeah, you got to shield this one. Does the flamethrower?
What are you doing? Click it. Jay.
J-Rob6 building in the drama. Does this flame? I mean, it's a Shadow Machamp. It's pretty squishy. It's enough.
Bastion is a Machamp counter confirmed.
Bastion. He led that Basti into the Shadow Machamp, and he killed the Shadow Machamp with the Basti. That is a savage turnaround, chat. That is not an everyday occurrence. But that's a J. Robin Stack special. If you ever watch his streams, catch any of that, he's a big fan of lose, lead, win game, and putting on a clinic there using his energy and clock management to set up a kill on a Machamp with his Bastiodon.
Whoa! If there was any disbelief that we were in bracket play, here you go. Like, holy Bastion, the ultimate counter, the just supreme master of all. And I guess it was a game of playing it exactly how he needed to play it. So he lined up the Pokemon the best that he could with he really needed to just not let his Basti land on the Shadow Machamp until the end, obviously. And it was a game of getting the Jellicent. Actually, I guess the Jellicent being able to hold on and get the Bubble Beam was pretty huge.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know that the Basti lives those counters. It was like 3 or 4 counters. I don't know that it lives those if those weren't debuffed.
Yeah, so if Jellicent, and Jellicent was barely holding on. Like, I thought it was toast just from the charge move. But I guess Jellicent, because Jellicent already debuffed the Skarmory wasn't doing as much damage to Jellicent, so he was able to hang on, barely take out Skarmory, and then barely get the bubbles through to get the energy for the Bubble Beam that closed out the entire match, again, barely.
Yeah.
I wonder if Machamp didn't throw the charge move and threw the quick move instead, save the turns.
Yeah, depends on how that lined up. It was gonna be really close either way.
Yeah,
but Sableye is just really good mon, and Umbreon is like, it's a counter, but it doesn't it has a hard time getting an advantage out of the Sableye matchup. We saw it having to throw kind of right away to make sure that second return doesn't come through. Because if that second return comes through before you throw that foul play, then the Sableye has the option to shield and try to win the matchup. So the Umbreon kind of put in a position there where it needs to win that matchup, and so it's throwing right away. But then that allows the Basti to come in and get that just really big farm down. And that energy helped it finish off 2 months, right? It's wall face. I don't know what to tell you, Chad. He's thick. I don't know how XL, if J Robbins has got that XL high IV Basti or not, but that one did enough work. Let's see what. So let's look at their lineups. So that time Wilson led the Shadow Machamp, had the Umbreon and the Skarmory in the back. That line is ABA weak to the Granbull. If it had been a Granbull lead, they would have been in a very, very bad spot. So kind of a high risk line there from Wilson, but making the read there that with the AWAC and the Skarmory on his line, he didn't think J Robin would lead the Granbull maybe. And J Robin leading the Basti there.
But we saw Granbull lead in the first game.
That's true. So he expected him not to run back that same team.
Oh, that's a big call. That could have gone very wrong very easily, and it would have. I mean, obviously, J. Robin Stacks did still come out on top, but it could have made things a lot more one-sided. J. Robin Stacks fought for that win. That was not an easy win by any stretch of the imagination.
He did not want to go to a game 3. He said, "I'm closing this out right now. We're not going to." I mean, the most drama we got was, is he going to shield this move that will kill him when he has 1 shield? He waited a real long time, but he did shield that move.
Thank you.
And he did win that game. So J. Robin advancing into the quarterfinal up against R.U. Ken Arekin. So we'll have that matchup here in just a little bit. We can look at the Brad. None of the other round 1 matches have concluded yet for the final stage.
we do have the last person moving on to bracket play from that pool 8, which is 000000000 JCho89. Had to make sure I got the number of zeros there right.
A big fan of Zeros, the first player in the list alphabetically, also running a Togekiss. So that matchup right there, the 00000000000 J showed 89 matchup versus 123 Say Yeah, both with many numbers, both with a Togekiss on their team. 123 Say Yeah, no Machamp. It's an interesting. Most of the teams we've seen today have had that Machamp on them, but 123 Say Yeah opting to have the Goon and the Vig, no Machamp. So that'll be we'll see what the results are from that one here a little later. It was Basti. Yeah, you read Basti. Thank you, Jay Robin, for pointing that out, correcting us a little bit. He did leave both games, but brought the Grand Bull in game 1 as an insurance policy against some of those options that his opponent had. We'll be jumping in, I think, here in a little bit. I'll pull up those lineups again. So J Robin Stacks versus RU Ken.
Okay, so we're going to see that one next. So yeah, we're going to see J Robin Stacks. I mean, maybe we watch the man go through the finals. We never know. But RU Ken will pull his team up. So yeah, there's one interesting Pokemon on this team. So we have the Shadow Machamp. We have the Obstagoon, NCK's favorite. The next Pokemon 3, is a Quillfish.
That is a Quillfish.
That's a Quillfish. Now, Quillfish has decent matchup up against Alola Marowak. Has decent matchups up against Bastiodon.
Yep. Well, I don't know how decent that matchup. I need to go look that way. Quillfish.
It's got Water Gun. But maybe it doesn't now.
Seriously unbulky. And Bastiodon. I'm going to go look at this one. I mean, it's probably a little bit Quillfish. I mean, Bastiodon wins the 2 shields against Water Gun Quillfish.
Whoa.
All the water guns, and it tanks an Aqua Tail, and it's still alive, and Quillfish is dead. I
wonder if there's ways around that. Like maybe if you've got if you have Fell Stinger and you increase your attack, and then they shield it, and then
a higher attack Quillfish. It looks like there is a potential breakpoint in that matchup to get the water gun from 2 to 3 damage, and that would definitely flip the matchup. But then you would need a slightly higher attack Quillfish. Attack to guarantee 135. Quillfish right now at 130 with the good IV Quillfish is 130 attack. To get to 135 attack, ooh, that's those are some seriously weird. That's like a 15, 10, 14. You need more attack.
You're
hit that breakpoint. So
you're pairing up a hundo Quillfish at that point for Great League.
If you were counting on your Quillfish as a Bastiodon counter, maybe that's what you're doing. There have been other tournaments in the past where people have powered up things with suboptimal stat spreads to try to hit those surprise matchups. I don't know if you've ever done that, Steve. Go dig through the simulator till you find the one. I think I had a Kingdra for Great League that hit a breakpoint on a Victory Bell that helped me win me some Fusion Cup tournaments. It was a 12-4-12 Kingdra. Hit a Dragon Breath him down.
Look, that level of deep research, I generally leave to other people. I wait till PV Poke tells me, okay, you need this stat and this stat to win this matchup, and I say, yes, Master PV Poke, I will do as you say, and find that exact IV combo. I have successfully found the 142 attack Galarian Stunfisk to take on this Registeel matchup or whatnot. I have full faith that he's not telling me porkies.
But now we do know that is a Charm Grand Bull, and RU Ken running a Quillfish, which Poison type resists Charm, the Alola Marowak resists Charm, and the Golbat. 2 Poison types and a Fire type. No Steel type on RU Ken's line, but just leaning on those 2 Poisons and the Fire type to try to deter any potential Charmers.
But then the other 3 are very weak to Charm. We have Umbreon, we have Obstagoon, and we have Shadow Machamp. They don't like Charm by any stretch of the imagination.
And the Alola Marowak and the Golbat really struggle against Bastiodon. So it's a very weird situation where these players can look at you like, do you want to triple down on something but then be really double weak to something else? It's kind of a high risk play. But most of the time we're seeing kind of these ABB lines come out. This format kind of lends itself to that, having the fighters, the things that resist counter, and the things that then cover the fighter, the steel type or the poison that's going to try to take out whatever is the problem for the fighter in their line. So it kind of lends itself to that ABB format. And looking at these lines, definitely some options for being anti-charm, two options for anti-steal, the goon, 2 dark types to try to counteract the Sableye or potential Jellicent. Just a really balanced team from RUCAN.
Yeah. I think no matter what way you cut it, this is going to be a matchup that is somewhat defined by which 3 Pokemon they bring and how they play dynamically with those Pokemon. Because it's going to be interesting. Because there are chances that we end up with completely like just hard counter all the way through. There's chances that we end up with no hard counters and it's all just kind of neutral plays. And it all comes down to what they pick.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to try and read their opponent best they can. They have to go, okay, I'm looking at my team from their perspective. I'm going, okay, Quillfish looks pretty good here. So if they're going to bring Quillfish, then I'm going to bring this. But if they think I'm going to bring this, then I'm going to bring this instead. There's going to be some serious... they've got to bring out all 5 of their heads here to try and figure out what's going on. Because if I was in either of these players' shoes, I would be struggling to pick a line that I was really like happy with to wander in confidently.
I probably think the Quillfish is Water Gun. I think that's a little better in a lot of the neutral matchups. The Poison Sting energy generation is nice after the buff. It's now a Mud Shot, Thunder Shock, Psycho Cut clone. The 1.5 damage per turn, 4.5 energy per turn. But Quillfish, its charge moves just really aren't that efficient. Aqua Tail, not very good DPE. Sludge Wave is what Quillfish has, which is somewhat efficient, but is a little harder to get to. And then sometimes they're running Ice Beam non-stab, kind of a middle of the road move, but I just don't know that those are the moves that it's looking for in this meta. Especially like you look at his line, I think he's kind of counting on that. Like I guess he has the Obstagoon and the Umbreon for AWAC, but usually in AWAC metas, if you see a Quillfish, it's running Water Gun to be that extra layer of insurance against Alolan Marowak and to help it in some of those neutral matchups. It also helps it against the steel types they would see. Where I guess they have 2 fighters. Yeah, I mean, this line is really flexible and it creates some interesting questions on what move sets they might be running because of that overlap in coverage they have. So I really like what RUCAN's put together. J. Robin Stack's line also has a variety of good answers for things, but a little less flexible. I guess from RUCAN's perspective, he doesn't know if it's a Snarl or Charm Granbull that we do, but most of these other mons, the moveset's not making huge differences. I guess the
Jellicent makes a few.
Yeah, Hex versus Bubble. The Hex helps it versus the Quillfish, and the Bubble is a little better against the Umbreon and the Obstagoon. It doesn't make that big of a difference in the Machamp matchup or the Alola Marowak matchup. Maybe Hex is a little better there because of the faster energy generation.
And there's no payback on Machamp.
No payback on Machamp. Just a regular Machamp. If Jay wins this whole tournament, we get to ask him questions. I will definitely ask him, like, hey, what did you see? Because like I'm sure there's something like either he doesn't have one that's like a low, easy answer to that question, but I'm curious if he like did some research on this and like really felt that the regular Machamp was a better option because of some matchups that we're just not as familiar with, that we didn't do the research on because we're not trying to win $400 that Jay put an effort into to try to find, I have this Shadow Machamp or this regular Machamp. How are those going to do in these matchups I expect to see? There's a real chance that that level of research may have gone into it, and be curious to hear.
Well, above that, like even just like more than just matchups, it could just be familiarity. Like maybe J. Robin Stacks is really comfortable with normal Machamp. He knows all the matchups. He knows all the counts. He knows how everything works. He knows how much damage he's going to take from this and this. He likes the extra bulk. That a non-Shadow Machamp can give him, doesn't need the extra attack, but it could just be personal preference. Like, hey, I'm using the Pokemon I like to use, and I'm going to win this tournament because of it. I'm confident. I know what I can do. Come at me. I'm in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it's a real possibility as well. Looking at these two lineups, trying to think of what they might bring. I think J-Rum Stacks will feel fairly comfortable bringing the Sableye into RU Ken's line. It's not great against the Umbreon, but we saw earlier that he could use that situation to create a pretty significant advantage for himself. It's also not that great into Obstagoon, but that's a very similar matchup where the 2 Night Slashes does not kill the Sableye, and you have to like throw the third move to prevent a return coming through that then enables another Mon to potentially farm down your Obstagoon after that matchup. You may want to camera.
Oh, I know.
Stretch here while I look at these teams and think. Stretching does help thinking. Take some nice breaths. I think the Sableye looks really strong in this matchup. And then you got to keep the Basti away from those 2 counter users, but having looked up that Quillfish matchup and seeing that Bastiodon wins in the 0s and the 2s, the Quillfish not a very big deterrent there, which is an option.
That's still crazy to me, by the way. Like, I was so confident that Quillfish would be a nice little Bastion counter, but no, it's just not.
It can win in the 1s. It gets to that 3rd Aqua Tail before the Basti can get to 2 moves and then finishes it off. But in the 2 shields, the Basti can tank 1 Aqua Tail and all those water guns and just smacks it down. It literally does. In the sim, Bastiodon's throwing 2 Stone Edges, the Quillfish shields, but the Quillfish is shielding both of them. The Bastion's literally just smacking it down from full health before the Bastiodon dies. So you could feasibly charge up to almost 2 moves on the Basti there, throw 1 and force 1 shield out of them before you had to shield the second time. But it would be a pretty it'd be pretty wild if that happens on stream. I'm looking at what else is this Quillfish doing? It doesn't help against the Jellicent. It's probably not that good at the matchup against Sableye because that's just all neutral damage, and Sableye is more efficient. Okay against the Machamp, but we have other options for the Machamp like the AWAC and the Golbat that feel a little more flexible. But if they expect Jay to bring like the Machamp and a Charmer, I could definitely see the Quillfish coming out there. It's just all about how they feel comfortable with their line and how they read their opponent, because these are both very, very balanced teams. I don't know that there's that much either of these players can like directly exploit just matchup wise. And that's why these teams are in the final bracket, right? And Jay's already advanced through 1 round of the bracket, and Ken doing well enough in the pool play to just advance to the quarterfinal. So,
and I guess it comes down to like they're very balanced teams. You can put in the hands of anyone, and they would have a balanced team. But it's using that balanced team that kind of really gives you the edge. If you give one of these teams to me, I'll fumble around and go, Sableye, Jellicent, Quillfish, and no clue what's going on. Lose all these neutral matchups. It's about knowing what you're doing with it, knowing how to play, knowing being precise with your sort of ABB matchups, going, all right, now I have to swap here. I can use this charge move, then I can burn this shield. Sableye is a very neutral Pokemon. It's a Pokemon where you have to know what it can and can't do to use effectively. It's not a plug and play Pokemon like, Bastiodon is a bit more plug and play. There's a lot of Pokemon here that you need to finesse a little bit. And that the fact that they're here in bracket play in the quarterfinals is, I guess, just evidence of the fact that they know what they're doing. They know the fine details. They can finesse it. They understand the Pokemon. They know what they need to do. And so we're going to see 2 people who both know what they're doing with good teams try and outmaneuver each other with 2 very balanced lineups. And it's going to be a very interesting set of games no matter what.
And the winner of this game is in the prize pool, right? The winner of this game goes to the semifinals, is top 4, will take home at least a share of that $1,000, and the loser just goes home with the memories and the friends they made along the way, which not a bad consolation prize, but a lot of these players are looking to make some money off this tournament. It's grateful to Antimatter and Facebook Gaming for putting on these tournaments with these prize pools and allowing people to pursue this thing that they are passionate about and also get a little bonus out of it. Especially now that some other live events are going to be coming back into the scene, right? The Safari Zones are going to be coming back live, and as we're kind of coming out of this time of all being apart and safe, we're going to get to go back to being a little more together and having some extra money. You know, maybe the winning this tournament is the plane ticket to go to some other tournament to like it. You know, that kind of thing is it's a real possibility for some of these players that are trying to make a name for themselves, but also like build on this hobby that they enjoy and kind of become, you know, recognizable parts of the wider community. It looks like we are locked in.
Coming in. All right, we're finally in the battles in the quarterfinals, and what a lead. What a lead. They might wait to see if it's a charm, or they might just run away. Yep, and they've seen it's charm, and they're still in. They're staying in. Go. What if they got in the back if they're
7, 8?
Whoa!
8.
It might force a shield.
I mean, no, it's not. It can't be gunk shot. It's not enough counters.
Yeah, wow.
They didn't even. I mean, I guess they're ABA weak to it, right? That's the explanation here. Is they're ABA weak to this charmer, and so they have to stay in here because if they swap out, they're really in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to see all of Green Bull's energy that just farmed up, which I mean, I say all that energy, it got like, 8 charms, didn't get tons through one single crunch, and Golbat's going to be able to potentially farm all the way. I'm not sure if it would have quite got a full farm.
Just keep adding up. Wing attack, not that high of a fast move pressure move, and so the Golbat opts to throw a move here to finish it off. And I expect to see either a Umbreon or the Shadow Machamp in the back. So I guess Bastiodon comes out here, and if Ken swaps out, we have the Sableye response there, but no swap out. Just goes out. I think
no charge
in the back. There it is. Yeah, if it had been the Machamp in the back, they probably would have swapped out. But yeah, double weak to that charm. ABA weak to charm. Jay makes the big call, leads the Grand Bowl, and puts him in a really good position to just take over this game. Basti should win this in all even shield situations, unless that Umbreon had pulled together the miraculous 4 denies, 2 sneaks situation. Even then, this Basti had
It's a full Sableye. There's a full Sableye in the back that hasn't even been shown yet.
Yeah, I think as Jay Runnsack, like ideally you don't want to show the back Mon here, right? This is game 1 of a 3-game series, and you want to give them a little bit of thinking of like, oh, was this what they had in the back? Was that what they had in the back? To try to give them less information going to last resort.
Ooh, last resort. All right, Marto, settle down.
I think you can realize it's over, but I appreciate them not top lefting, not tapping out, playing it out, being a little silly, trying to keep their spirits high, right? Going into game 2, there's a pretty bad beat in game 1. We have a little fun with it, throw a last resort, start thinking about next game already because there's not anything else to think about here. Yeah, not shielding and just letting it go down. GG in game 1.
That was absolute carnage. That was just so rough. Again, these ABEA lines, they're ready to be exploited. Like, if they get unlucky, there isn't much you can do, which I guess comes back to the importance of having a sort of a balanced line of 3 that you can play out of any scenario. You have to go through the mental permutations of, okay, if I lead this and they lead this, what do I do? If they lead this, what do I do? And in the case of a Granville lead, all they could do is lose their Obstagoon, or else, I mean, they can't swap into the Umbreon. And if they swap into Golbat, then they've got nothing else to counter the Granville later on. Mm-hmm. So it was all they could do to lose their Obstagoon completely and then be down to 2 Pokemon. And then Bastiodon was waiting in the wings to take on the Golbat. And their only Bastiodon counter was in the lead.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up that Granbull versus Umbreon match real quick. I want to look at that one. Umbreon, very bulky, can beat some of the Charmers in the 0 shields. We'll see if it can do that against a normal Granbull.
I wonder if
no, not quite.
Maybe if Umbreon was in the lead and they lost their Umbreon instead of losing their Obstagoon,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If they just swapped to the Umbreon, they just swapped to the Umbreon. The Umbreon with a last resort and a foul play can get the Granbull very low, down to 18 HP. And then maybe the Goon has more play against whatever's in the back, which was the case, right? Having seen the Bastion on the back. So maybe if you're going to sack one of those Mons, sacking the Umbreon might have been a little more value for you, putting the Granbull on low health, kind of farm down range, and saving the Obstagoon that has more potential good matchups against Jay's team. I mean, just looking at the Umbreon has, I mean, its good matchups are the Jellicent and kind of the Sableye, but coming into that matchup at a disadvantage, right, with some kind of farm down or energy lead, not even that great for the Umbreon. Whereas the Obstagoon, good matchup with the Jelly, good matchup with the Skarm and the Basti. But now we see the Quillfish.
All right. What a gun. All right, we'll see how we do. We are seeing the Bastion and the Granbull in the back here. Farming for a nice little bit of energy. Water gun is one of those moves that's very hard to count, so it's hard to know what's going on if you're not paying super close attention, which I'm sure these players both are. Landing the first Aqua Tail, farming up to the return by the looks of it, past it. Ooh, I'm seeing the swap out. Oh man, that is a rough swap.
But like we talked about earlier, the Umbreon can make this kind of, that charm comes through. That might deny them getting to the second charge move. But Umbreon, not that bad in this matchup. You see the last resort does about half health. And so if they can get to another one, but I don't think they will off the
They did
bat.
get one Snarl extra?
I mean, if this is the last resort, I think it KOs. Be really close.
Yep.
And it is the last resort, and J Dubs throws up that shield to guarantee he wins switch. And be able to throw this energy. The Granbull does win. I'm fairly certain to win CMP against the Quillfish, but they bring in a little Marowak.
That's kind of interesting. You would, I guess, keeping the Quillfish for the potential Bastion matchup instead of the Alolan Marowak, but like really has to contend with these crunches that are coming through. One more charm away and gets the other crunch.
And the Sableye's got a foul play loaded as well.
Yeah, this is really rough for Ayuken.
Just lets it go down here, brings in that Sableye with the foul play loaded after this lag. Immediate throw.
Ooh, immediate catch.
But the Sableye still has another foul play loaded. And the Quillfish is just dead.
Yeah, no charge move.
And again, J Rumsack's not even showing the backmon. 2v3ing the opposing line. Just, putting on a clinic. His lines are solid. His matchups are good. Shield this, right? Yep. Don't show your backmon. I like it.
Yep.
Wow. And going on to the next round.
I gotta see the backmon.
Are you Kansas? No, wait. I'm
Come
going
on,
to see
show me the back.
this game.
Please show me what was in the back.
It's nothing.
Thank you.
Oh, Basti comes. Oh man. I see what you're.
Yeah, okay, that wouldn't have
Oh, that, yeah.
Maybe if you had like a 10 CP Skarmory in the back, it might have been a win, but yikes. And with that, J Stacks dominating the quarterfinals and securing himself a spot in the semifinals and a guaranteed spot in the cash pool.
Mm-hmm. No, really, really good reads from J Stacks, using his Mons just to their maximum potential, putting them in really good positions to win, winning those leads as well. And you can taking kind of those higher risk ABA lineups, right? And that last game, that was the Quillfish in the lead, and with Alolan Marowak and
Sableye. Oh yeah, Umbreon. Sorry, wrong team.
Yeah, so just they're the Jellicent good against two of those. Like Jellicent wins against two of those. The Sableye wins against two of those. Like it just kind of ABA weak to several things on Jay's line. I think the Bastion also wins against all three of those in the lead in two shields.
Depending on the shield scenario, obviously.
Yeah. So, but just kind of not bringing the counter, like brought no counter user. against J. Robin Sachs after J. Robin Sachs showed the Basti in game one. He didn't show the Sableye in game one. He showed the Basti.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, seeing the Basti and bringing no counter user feels really high risk.
I mean, maybe they're similar to me. They were like, hey, Coolfish has got this in the bag.
Oh, this is my Basti counter. It's possible.
They did swap it out, so they wanted to keep it around, potentially for a Bastiodon later on. Never ended up coming to fruition, unfortunately. Did get taken out by that foul play from the Sableye. Oh, from a Shadow Claw from the Sableye after a foul play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it obviously wasn't going to be taking out a full health Bastiodon if it can't even do it like from a lead scenario in the two shield. And it looked like it didn't have a charge move ready to go in the end there, which is a bit unfortunate. It got the energy for one Aqua Tail in the lead, and then just couldn't get another one. Water Gun doesn't charge up very fast, unfortunately. It's a little bit rough in that regard.
3 energy per turn. It's 12 turns to the Aqua Tail. It's just like Snorlax with Body Slam or Dragonite with Dragon Claw. Those 3 energy, 1 turn moves, and then getting to the 35 energy kind of efficient bait move. Although Aqua Tail not quite as efficient. I think Aqua Tail's similar to Dragon Claw, but not as good as Body Slam or Weather Ball or some of the other Leaf Blade, some of the other 35 moves that are just really efficient. Aqua Tail not really on that level, and Qwilfish just like lacking the bulk. It has a bunch of mediocre moves and it has sub-average bulk, and so it's a very difficult mon to use well, or you had to have used it well to get to this point, but then it just couldn't land it couldn't put it in positions to do its job against J. Robin Sachs' team.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, as we kind of said going into it, they had 2 very balanced teams. It could have gone a variety of ways depending on which 3 Pokemon that each of them selected, and I guess unfortunately it just Ayu Ken's selections just didn't really stand up to J. Robin Sachs's. Like, his teams just really were able to dominate. Like, it didn't necessarily come down to in-game decisions so much. It just really, in a way, came down to J. Robin Sachs's lineups being, I guess, Ayu Ken's lineups being exploitable. And J. Robin Sachs having the exact key to unlock that exploitable lock.
His team of 6 felt like it had all the answers he needed, but then he brought lines that had kind of those really strong ABA weaknesses, and J. Robin Sachs just mind gaming into leading the worst case scenarios for Ayu Ken. Like that Grand Bull lead in game 1 into the Obstagoon Umbreon team, and it's. You just don't want to see yourself in that position. But like Aryuken's looking at his team and he's like, why would you bring that Grand Bull? I have 3 charm counters.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how it goes. Like, yeah, you wouldn't bring charm. Oh, all happiness just.
J. Robin Sachs undeterred, put on his jandals and just walked across Aryuken's line. Quarter into the semifinals. Let's look at these other. Looks like Art 123 Say Yeah advanced against 000000000 Cho 89. So we get 123 Say Yeah versus Rise to Occasion at the top of the bracket, and in the bottom half, Dilop Cheng took out Demidre. So he's up against Dilop Cheng is up against Creaser, and it's Jason Bourne 3 took out Toshi and is currently up against Speediest Chief. So we're just going to be waiting for the winner of Rise to Occasion versus 123 Say Yeah to get the next match in for J. Robin Stacks.
And with It's Jason Bourne 3 knocking out Toshi, the last of the Elite Four in this final, going to the final 8 now in the quarterfinals, that does mean that we are not going to see the Speediest Chief versus Toshi game. The Mesa versus Elite Four is not going on. It's Jason Bourne saying, hey, it's Jason Bourne, baby. It's time to dominate this one in another way. So maybe he's on a path. Slay Elite Four. I was going to say slay Mesa, but Rise to Occasion is also still up in the match at the top of the bracket. So Mesa's got 2 out of 8 here. They're doing pretty well, to say the least. And not only are we seeing those two with Rise to Occasion as our Kanto Cup tournament champion, we're seeing Creaser still in this top 8, still kicking as one of the top 4 in the previous tournament. Creaser's looking to get some more cash prizes coming through. Show that talent to the world.
Yeah,
See how we all do.
Playing in these high-profile money tournaments against other high-profile players and players that are on teams. And, you know, I mean, as the scene continues to grow, like, we're going to see probably more teams signing more players. And if Creaser brings his portfolio over and is like, look, I top forward this $1,000 tournament and I top forward or maybe even wins this $1,000, like, that's a pretty good case when you're in the potential to join with a team. And so that might be on the mind of some of these players as they try to like advance something that amounts turning a hobby into a potential, like, maybe not a career yet. The scene isn't quite big enough to support that. There are only a few people making careers out of Pokemon at this point, Pokemon Go at this point, but kind of being able to invest more and more into that and getting more and more return out of it as the scene keeps growing, right? And we see more teams coming in, more prize money tournaments coming in. It's just a matter of time before it can be something where somebody can make it work, to just win tournaments, use that to go to more tournaments, win those tournaments, and sign with a team to get some expenses and other stuff covered, so they can keep building their success. I
saw Daniel Z's video the other day, kind of talking about the sort of future of Pokemon Go as an esport, the potential to turn this into a career, how to kind of set yourself up for success. And we're on the path, and Antimatter Gaming, powered by Facebook Gaming, definitely helping take us onto that path, hosting these cash tournaments. This is the third in just as many months. So like, they've come in just the last 3 months, they've injected $3,000 into this community in the form of cash prizes, and that's a really awesome thing to be able to see. So, you know, mad props to them. In the same time, Mazer came in and did that $1,000 tournament last month. I think it was last month. Maybe it was the month before. But Mazer came in, did that 1,000 tournament as well. You know, there's tournaments like Dragon Silk has that $250 tournament going on next month in July. So the scene is growing, and I'm here for it. I'm ready to go. I'm really happy to kind of see this base expanding out, hardening up, getting a nice solid, I'm forgetting the word, the construction
foundation.
The foundation to where we can hopefully go in the future. So I'm keen. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I am as well. There are good things happening in the Pokemon Go community. Bang, shout out to this awesome community. Appreciate you all coming out, showing up, hanging out and chat with us today during this tournament. Thank you to the people helping put on the production team, doing an awesome job here. Thank you to our sponsors for helping put this on, and Antimatter Gaming for organizing, putting it all together. And we're just grateful to be a part of it, and we want to keep building, chat. We want to keep building. That's why we're here, shouting these shoutcasts and these matches, building some hype for you guys, breaking the plays down so you can help improve your game as well. We're just going to keep rolling on forward.
Okay, so as we wait for Jared Stax's opponent, whether it's going to be Rise to Occasion or 123 Seiya, we're going to go throw to a quick ad break, and then we'll be right back as we wait for that quarterfinal match to finish up, so we can go right into the semis.
Gamers Heaven different from all the other shops that you may have been to? Outdoor seating? How about some ramen? Or boba tea? You have your standard retail, and more retail, gaming stations, more gaming stations, one-on-one setups with spectator screens, things like this when you can't decide on one thing, PC stations, future streaming booth, board games to play, this fitness room, eventually a custom D&D room, table space that's currently social distanced apart, theater room, 4K screen, small little arcade, lots of food options, drink options, more food options, and more frozen stuff too. It just keeps going. Most importantly, a kitchen for our previously mentioned ramen, boba tea, and our food. There's definitely a lot more to show you guys, so definitely follow for more content.
Hello again. It's us. Me Ninja hanging out, ready for some.
We're back.
Ready for some semi-final play in the Nexus League Antimatter Cup. Again, we haven't really talked about it for a little while, but the Antimatter Cup is essentially a color-themed cup based on the antimatter sort of color. So we've got purple, grey, black, and white, with a Pachirisu band on top of that, because Pachirisu was just a little too schmick and a little too regional. Yeah, really kind of some exciting gameplay so far. Very hot gameplay from J. Robin Stacks in that last one, just dominating the quarterfinals, like absolute destruction. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to find a game that was more devastating than that game, just hitting all of the exact right keynotes to make things just disappear. But
Using
we
like
are
two
going to be
Mons in game one, and in game two,
Yeah.
coming up just short, like a little bit of HP on his opponent's Alola Merrick away from only showing two Mons in game two as well. Just a demolition. Well organized by J. Robin Stacks.
Yeah.
But
Winning
this
a
next
round.
opponent-
Oh man, this is going to be rough. This is going to be a big match. This is going to be some serious sweat. We're going to see in the semi-finals J. Robin Stacks take on the champion of the Kanto Cup, rise to occasion. And oh boy, this is going to be a big one. And not only that, but in the other semi-finals, so simultaneously to this, we're going to see Sylph Arena World Champion Speediest Chief 2 take on Dial Up Cheng, the previous #1 on the Go Battle League leaderboards. So it is just sweat all around. All four of these players are going home with a cash prize. 400 for first, 300 for second, 200 for third, and 100 for fourth. And they are all just crazy good. Like, they have
and they
shown
all
their stuff
want to
to get
win.
here.
These are all people
yeah.
that want to win. It's like the prize money is part of it. Obviously, they want that prize money. Also, part of it is just these are guys that want to win. They have honed themselves. They practice. They do their GBL. They do outside like these are people that want to win, and their will to win and their preparation has carried them to this part of the tournament. And now in these semifinals, they are going to clash together like titans.
I mean, they have all four of these guys have achievements. They've got, titles under their name. We've got Silver Arena Champion, Speediest Chief, and whatnot. They're all just really good, really well respected. But man, no matter what happens, this is sure to be seriously hype. But one thing we should do is take another quick look at the team, because I do remember you saying that Rise had that Drapion on his squad, which is a very interesting pick. There's a lot of different movesets on that Drapion that could have. It could have Bite as a fast move, could have
Ice Fang, Poison Sting.
Yeah, Poison Sting may be the way to go with the new meta, but maybe not in this with this specific group of Pokemons.
Yeah.
But quickly running through the teams, Rise to Occasion does have the Shadow Machamp, Gliscor, Umbreon, Jellicent, Drapion, and Registeel. And J. Robin Stacks, again, as we've seen, has the Jellicent, Sableye, normal Machamp, not Shadow, Granbull, Skarmory, and the Bastiodon. So what are you kind of seeing in these lineups that might be some important? I'm certainly seeing some big play for Machamp from J. Robin Stacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's checked by the Gliscor and the Jellicent, but has pretty good matchups against the other four things there. Obviously, the kind of neutral matchup in the mirror against the Shadow Machamp, but really pretty essential for his team to kill that Umbreon and the Registeel. I mean, Registeel pretty threatening to J. Robin Stacks line. I would be surprised if we don't see that Registeel come out from Rise. It just feels like it matches up really well against the Granbull, against the Skarmory, against the Bastiodon. It's a decent matchup with Sableye. And if it can get ahead or get some advantage, like the moves it throws are very threatening to the Machamp. The one thing it just really needs to look out for is that Jellicent. So maybe it's the Registeel and the Umbreon coming out together, then with something that covers them against the Machamp. That would kind of make sense, whether it's the Gliscor or the Jellicent. I could see some kind of ABB line there where he's trying to bait out the Machamp and then farm it down with the Gliscor or the Jellicent to create an advantage, and then use the Registeel as a sweeper, perhaps. And looking at it from the other perspective, J. Rob Stacks looking at Rise's line. Basti feeling okay. The Gliscor matchup kind of baity, but it beats the Umbreon. Probably we don't know what Rise is running on his Jellicent yet. If it's Bubble or Hex, Bubble not so good for the Basti. Hex pretty okay for the Basti. I don't think there's any moveset that the Drapion can run that makes it any kind of a threat to a Bastiodon.
I don't think so. Look, it's got Aqua Tail, which is going to do something, but it's not going to be game winning.
Yeah,
necessarily.
And it's not efficient. It's non-stab, and any fast move it has is probably resisted unless it's running Bite. The Poison Sting is triple resisted. The Ice Fang single resisted. So, and just not generating much energy with the Ice Fang. So the Bastiodon feels pretty good if you can keep it away from that Machamp. It can also hang with the Registeel with some kind of energy lead. You can get a couple flamethrowers, but the Registeel generally favored there because it outpaces to the Focus Blasts. The Sableye also pretty interesting matchup here. Okay against Gliscor, pretty good against Shadow Machamp. It's actually that matchup's Machamp gets to the cross chops a little faster. I think in the 2 shields, Machamp actually wins at very low HP, getting to a 3rd cross chop, but it's fairly close. Sableye really good against the Jellicent. And okay in the Registeel matchup. Really, what moveset that Drapion has is probably the most interesting thing here that affects some of these matchups.
Yeah, and it's got such a wide array, doesn't it? Like, it's hard to even guess because there is such a pool of options.
Yeah,
like it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, it's just one of those sort of Swiss Army knives of a Pokemon, but. We are going to be jumping into the battles now. J. Robin Sachs has locked in his team, and as has Rise, so we're hopping in for the semi-finals match. Machamp v Umbreon. What a start. What a start for Jay. And he doesn't necessarily have to keep this alignment either, because he still has that Granbull in the back that is just going to be dominating this Umbreon. So, I mean, Rise keeping Umbreon in, maybe identifying that Last Resort will still do some damage here.
Yeah, we'll take 2 Last Resorts to kill. And so the Machamp can go up to 2 moves here and then throw. The Umbreon's not at 2 moves yet. And the Umbreon will have to shield first to stay alive in this matchup. Machamp winning CMP. Umbreon might swap out here, try to catch on a back-to-back. Nope.
I think he's trying to just let it go, force a shield with the Last Resort potentially, knowing that, thinking that the Granbull is probably going to appear in the back. So maybe just happy to let Umbreon fall here. Bring in something else to farm down this Machamp. We're seeing
immediately click on that Granbull. Wants to get in right away.
Whoa!
I think this was his plan, though. He was fairly certain there was this Registeel in the back because the Umbreon stayed in. Right, everything else on that team, like the Umbreon staying in, doesn't make sense except that there's a Registeel in the back. So
yeah, if it's a bit of that ABA sort of situation where you've got 2 things that are weak to that Machamp.
So he's bait out the Registeel, and now he gets to kill the Registeel, and then he's just going to trust his Skarm to be able to fight against that Jellicent, which will be kind of rough being down a shield, but he identified that was his best option here.
There's the shield back. Oh. Maybe he has to burn the shield. Oh, either way.
Yeah, I think
you're going to burn the shield here. That's the better play, I think.
Yeah, the Jellicent's not at a move yet, so if he can get to a cross chop against this.
Oh, I think he has to. Oh, that was a close farm.
That was. I mean, we're talking about these games being sweaty, chat. That is some sweat. I mean, he's got I don't know what he's got on his phone, so it didn't slip out of his hand because his palms were probably real sweaty on that farm down. But Machamp getting off
nerves of steel.
And
nerves of Registeel. And
now the Jellicent being that low of HP, not gonna be able to finish off this Skarm before he gets air slash down.
J. Robin Stacks taking out the first game. Rise not throwing any moves. Maybe I guess keeping the information a bit private. Like, hey, I know I've lost this. I'm not telling you what I've got.
Yeah.
But wow, like that all came down to that one farm.
Yeah, we saw a very similar play out of J. Robin Stacks in the previous series too, as well. Staying in with the Machamp in the matchup it wins, investing the shield to win the matchup and come out of it with energy, like trusting that Machamp with the energy because they stayed in with something weak to it. Will have something else that it can really crush in the back of that line, and then just finding a way to beat that out, allow the Machamp to crush it, and then closing out the game. So Jay Rhymesex, I mean, it might be that he's just really comfortable with that Machamp. Now that we've seen that a couple times now, wouldn't surprise me if he really, really likes the way it plays. And it may be that the Machamp can do that in situations Shadow Machamp can't. Maybe a Shadow Machamp that Umbreon gets to a last resort and a foul play, and that's enough against a Shadow Machamp. And so it can't afford to do that same play. But the regular Machamp putting in work for JRS here.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, like, wow, it won that game. Machamp, just the way it played, won that game. But we saw Rise again with that ABA team, with the one Machamp counter hidden in the middle. And it's, again, I guess that's what we've been seeing time and time again in this tournament. ABA, it's not getting my endorsement. I do not support ABA because it does not seem to be doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, that Umbreon also, like, if it had been a Charmer lead, they'd have to go to the Jellicent, and I think that the Granbull can win that matchup as well. So
yeah, without the
risky
advantage.
Jay calling the lead again. Sableye into Jellicent. Man.
Instant swap this time, though, into Gliscor. Looks like he's going for the swap into the Charm Granbull. Gliscor does have a little bit of energy here, but doesn't care about the Night Slashes. Night Slash can be resisted. So if Gliscor wants to do some big damage, it needs to go for that Earthquake. But debate chance is here. And J-Rob and Stacks thought that it was the Earthquake, did shield the Night Slash. Because Granbull is a little bit squishy, Night Slash still does like a little bit of damage. But just doesn't get the last charm through to take out Gliscor before the end, unfortunately.
It could still be an Earthquake. Yep, he shields there knowing it can be the Earthquake. Well played by Rise to throw that bait knowing he would get to 2 moves in that matchup, even under the pressure of those charms. And now we have a Granbull that's loaded on energy. It's got 1 move loaded. Ooh, Registeel comes in.
Yeah, this is very rough, especially with Rise having 2 shields to 0. I mean, this Granbull is going down. Like, Rise is going to be able to burn 1 shield here. You know, there's no need to play with baits or anything. Although,
nope. That switch timer was almost back up. If he could have switched out there, he definitely would want to do that so he could try to get 1 more charm into that close combat later. But now he gets to come back in with the Machamp, I imagine, because we know that Jellicent is the thing in the back. And the Sableye, I think, can win that matchup down a shield. Nothing the Jellicent throws really threatens Sableye that much, so it's just a matter of getting out of this matchup. And Rise identifying that the Machamp was going to come out of that matchup with a move loaded, opts to swap out now and save the Registeel with some energy for later and see what's in the back. Try to figure out if he has play here, and he pulls out. The Sableye comes back out. This Shadow Ball will put him, I think, about 20%, maybe a little lower, maybe 17, 15%, but is not lethal. So
yep,
closer to 10%.
Ooh, throw. Oh, I was worried he's going to get hexed down there, but yeah, throwing the foul play now. This is not going to take out the Jellicent. So Machamp is going to have to do a little bit of work in that regard. Oh, actually, never. Oh, it wasn't debuffed. For some reason, I had in my head that a Bubble Beam did come through, but no Bubble Beam, so it's just down to Machamp.
A little bit of lag coming through here on the stream, but Machamp will win CMP there. Gets this cross drop off. Not quite lethal, but there's no way the Reggie can throw back-to-back moves, and no move from Registeel is lethal to a full health Machamp. So Machamp's just going to take this Focus Blast on the chin. I mean, that's a matchup where you could say maybe. I mean, if he'd been Shadow, his cross drop would have killed. But that's definitely a situation where if you're running a Shadow Machamp and there are Registeels in the meta, I mean, that Focus Blast, now that's been buffed back to its original damage, because it was nerfed after season 1 or 2. Now, but it's been buffed back up. That plus, I think it was plus 10 damage added back onto Focus Blast.
Yeah.
Registeel Focus Blast looks like it'd probably kill a Shadow Machamp. But a regular Machamp able to hold on there. The lock-on's not doing much. And so definitely a situation where regular Machamp feels a little more powerful.
Yeah, I guess that's the intended downside of Shadows. They are less bulky, which means you might have to invest more shields in them. You're going to survive less hits in return for getting more damage. So in these sort of scenarios where you have this Pokemon that has to take this big move, you know, deer in headlights, it's nice sometimes to be able to have a little bit more bulk. And you know, that with that, J-Rob and Stex has taken out the semifinals. He has defeated the King Rise to occasion, forcing Rise to not win 2 out of the 3 Nexus League tournaments so far.
Although Rise notably making it to the semifinals in each of these tournaments. Like it is no small accomplishment. Like knocking out Rise is a really big deal for Jay, and also shout out to Rise to Occasion for winning one of these tournaments, making it to the finals of the second one, and still making it to the semis. Potentially he has to play in the third place matchup to see if he can come in third or fourth in this tournament as well. So just an awesome showing from Rise across this kind of inaugural Nexus League tournament series. And we do not have a winner locked in yet from the other side. Dial-Up Cheng versus Speediest Chief 2 still ongoing, but JRM Stacks place in the finals.
It does also mean with Rise going down that Speediest Chief is the man that has to carry the Mazer banner further if he can get there. Otherwise, it'll be Mazer v Mazer in the third versus fourth matchup.
Ooh, team kill in third versus fourth.
Team kill. Someone's winning, coming over the $100 extra. Whoever wins a set of 3 matches could be either of them. Or it could be Dial-Up Chen versus Rise to Occasion as well. Depends how these matchups are going to go. Talking to Speediest Chief before, he said that his quarterfinals matchups was super sweaty as well, and I don't think the sweat is ending anytime soon. As you said before, these 4 battlers are all super, super top tier. J. Robin Stacks taking out Rise to Occasion, one of the best battlers in the world. Speediest Chief, Silver World Champion. Dial-Up Chang, one of the has topped the Go Battle League leaderboards before, was at number 1. Look, no matter which way you cut it, these guys seriously all deserve to be here. These are some hype matches. They were just crazy good. Jay versus Rise, like both of those battles deserve to be here.
Yeah, that especially that game 1 was so close, and Jay just, I mean, you just look at the tournament record right now, and Jay 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. It really felt like a 2-0 in the quarterfinals, but that round, that semifinal matchup, it didn't really feel like a 2-0. It felt like that was really close. And Jay was able to eke out both of those by that much health on his Machamp in game 2, securing that spot in the finals. Let me go look at Dial-Up and Speediest's teams. Go see Dial-Up and Speediest, and go see what Jay may be up against here in the grand finals. Speediest Chief, Speediest Chief is running that Escavalier. We haven't seen any of those yet on stream. Very, very weak to Alolan Marowak and fire type damage, but resisting Charm and having counter for Obstagoon, Vigoroth. Only taking neutral damage back from counter, the bug typing and steel, making it a neutral match with counter. It loses also to Machamp in even shields because Machamp outpaces it. Machamp gets to that cross chop after 10 turns, and it takes 14 for the Escavalier to get to the drill run. But if it has any kind of energy lead, if you get stuck in that matchup and you can get back out, get an energy lead later, the Escavalier definitely can close it out against Machamp pretty easily if it's up a shield or energy. But these two teams, Speediest got 2 flyers on his team, the Shadow Golbat, the Gliscor, 2 dark types on his team, the Sableye, the Obstagoon, and then 3 of those things are anti-charm, the Escavalier, Steel, the fire type, and the poison. It's a pretty balanced team from Speediest Chief. The Escavalier definitely an interesting pick. May get the pleasure of seeing that in the grand finals.
See, the thing of the fact that it's very anti-charm is that there's no charmers left room to face. Dial-Up has Shadow Machamp, Vigoroth, Alolan Marowak, Skarmory, Jellicent, and Umbreon. And Garabin Stacks, here's Bramble.
That map is fairly neutral. Also, it is an anti-charm in that it resists the move, but also doing resisted counter damage back. So it's a kind of goes either way. The Escavalier, I think, is favored in the lower shield situations because it gets to its charge moves faster, and Granbull pretty lacking in bulk. So the drill run pretty threatening there. And then the Escavalier also pretty good in some of the dark type matchups. We'll see if it's running. There's some question if it's running Aerial Ace or Megahorn. My guess would be that they're running Megahorn. Usually the moveset you want is the counter Megahorn drill run. And having Megahorn really helps it against Umbreon, for example. Having that big bug type move with stab on it, able to take down some of these dark types. But,
Yeah, it can definitely give you a little bit more play in that regard. Also, things like Sableye as well.
and
Like
Speedy has locked in the win. So we have a JRS, J. Robin Stacks versus Speedy's Chief
man.
2 in the finals. Pull up J. Robin Stacks team again versus
This is going to be
Speedy's
big.
Chief.
This is going to be big. Oh man, Speedy's Chief trying to avenge his Mazer partner rise to occasion.
Yep, Rise going down to that third place game against Dial-Up Chang. And so Mazer will get first or second and third or fourth. I mean, having two players in the top four of a big tournament, definitely an accomplishment for their organization. J. Robin Stacks looking to make sure that he is the one that comes out on the top, though. See if he can take down Speediest Chief, as we've said before, the Sylph Season 2 reigning world champion. Quite the battler. And if you are interested, chat, you can check out both of these. Both of these guys are also streamers here on Twitch. You can go find them at J. Robin Stacks and at Speediest Chief 2, I think is actually his name is also his Twitch name. So you could go give them a follow if you wanted to see some of their battles at a future date. Awesome battlers. They put out good content, play at a high level, and you can go follow them if you want to see their successes after this tournament. But first, we're going to see who is successful in this tournament.
It all comes down to this. The grand finals. Someone walks away with $400. The other, a measly $300. It's going to be such like we've been watching J. Robin Stacks through the entirety of bracket play. We've seen him win game after game after game, and he's just on an absolute tear, and he's just got one more opponent to take on. If he beats this one last opponent, he comes away with the #1 banner, and it's going to lead him to have a target on his back for life. The winner of the first Antimatter Cup in the Nexus League. It's going to be big.
So Jeremy Stacks, he's really been leaning heavily on this Machamp and the Grand Bull. And just looking at these matchups here, Machamp going to struggle against that Alolan Marowak, the Golbat, and the Gliscor. And I think a regular Machamp does not beat Sableye and even shields, where Shadow Machamp does, just not quite enough damage. So a little tougher matchup there. The Machamp really only having the Obstagoon as its primary target, and then kind of secondarily also being able to fight with that Escavalier. The Grand Bull, really good against Obstagoon and Sableye. Probably an okay matchup with the really good against those. Probably a decent matchup against the Gliscor. We saw it earlier. If you get baited, you end up going down 2 shields, but you can definitely win that matchup. You come out with a move loaded, and nothing on this team wants to tank a move from a Grand Bull, so you can usually get at least one of those shields back. So might see that as a potential like counter swap. Bastiodon, really good against the Alolan Marowak, the Golbat. In the Gliscor matchup, it's again that kind of baity situation, decent against the Sableye, but really afraid of that Escavalier and the Obstagoon. Jelly looking.
I don't know if we're going to see Jelly. I don't think we're going to see Jelly in this one. The Sableye is pretty scary. The Gliscor is pretty scary. Golbat's a little bit scary as well. Obstagoon's scary. Alolan Marowak. There's some things to be scared there as well. Escavalier is the only one where it's kind of happy to Jelly blob along and just go with the beat. I feel like Jelly might stay home for the grand finals here. Yeah,
Sableye I think looking pretty okay. The Obstagoon is the one thing here. There's not it's not an Obstagoon Umbreon sort of line. It's just the Obstagoon is the only real dark type here, because the other one is the Sableye. So the Sableye mirror. CBS Chiefs is a little more powered up, maybe a little more XL. I think most Sableyes, I think from 1483, you could get one more power up in. So JRMSX just not able to get quite enough XLs for that yet. Maybe at Halloween we'll get another event. We can all have XL Sableyes then. But I think that Sableye looking pretty good across this line, pretty neutral to good matchups, as long as it stays away from that Obstagoon. And then the Skarmory looking pretty okay here.
I mean, time and time again, Skarmory's kind of shown itself with that sort of neutrally pick. It's not hard winning a lot of matchups. It's not hard losing a lot of matchups. It's only like really super scared by that Alolan Marowak, and even then, you can land a big old nuke on it and do some nice damage with a Brave Bird. So it's not like the end of the world.
And it really, really has a good time against the Gallbat and the Gliscor. The resisting the wing attacks, their cheaper moves, Gallbat Poison Fang being double resisted, Gliscor the Night Slash being non-stab and not that big of a move. Those are pretty good matchups for Skarmory. And then also probably has a similar matchup with the Escavalier, where the Escavalier has no charge move that isn't resisted. Like all the charge moves are resisted against a Skarmory, and them both doing neutral damage with their fast move. So I kind of expect to see a Skarm from J. Robin Stacks. That feels like a pretty safe pick. Maybe he uses that as a safe swap in a situation where he can either stay in and shield it to try to win a matchup, or go maybe one Sky Attack, one Brave Bird to try to get both shields out of his opponent, and then enable one of his other Mons to clean up afterwards. Skarmory feels like it kind of fits that role pretty well here, without any just the AWAC. But the AWAC, it's a pretty neutral matchup other than the Fire Spin damage, and Skarmory having a little more bulk there doesn't feel that bad for Skarm. But most of these other mons feel like they have kind of a higher risk. So maybe Sableye Skarm. I'm not sure exactly what else Jay would pair with that. Looking at these lines,
maybe Machamp. Machamp might. Look, I mean, I think that's good. The first point that we're kind of making, that Machamp is a little bit, it's weak to some, it's good against some. It would be nice to land in certain situations, less nice in others. So you could go like the Machamp lead with a Skarmory safe swap in the back.
Yeah. Well, is this the kind of line where you could go? Yeah. I was thinking about, but with the Skarmory kills all the stuff that punches things. So he could.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So maybe he could run like a Sableye Skarm and Basti. Basti and Skarm looking like a pretty solid duo here. Like all the things that Basti is afraid of, the Skarm really cleans up pretty well. The Obstagoon, the Gliscor, the Escavalier. Skarm has pretty good matchups against those, and Basti really locking down Skarm's biggest threat, which is the Alola Marowak. So I think that might be a pretty solid pairing there. But we're not the ones playing for $400 right now, chat. The players that are playing for $400 are locking in their teams, and we will be in that game just shortly here. And we'll find out what their reads were. Is the Escavalier the Mon? Can Skarmory create a winning situation for J. Robin Stacks? We'll find out here in just a bit.
Or maybe we were wrong about Jellicent. Maybe we judged it too early. Maybe Jellicent is the GOAT. Respect Jellicent. Jellicent is good. Maybe he's able to land it on the Alolan Marowak and, catches all of the Bone Clubs, shields all of the Shadow Bones, the Shadow Balls, whatever Speedius may have.
It wouldn't be the wildest thing if J. Robin Stacks again hard called the lead in an ABA situation. We got Jellicent on a Scavalier and there was an Alolan Marowak in the back. That would be on theme for how J. Robin Stacks has been calling people's lines this tournament. The only two things weak to the Jelly are on the team, and one of them's in the lead, and he leads the Jelly. I mean, Jay's done that to a couple people now. He let the Granbull into the double fighter line, but we are locked in and going to game number 1 of the grand finals of the Nexus League Antimatter Cup.
I'm nervous.
Your camera shows. Your camera's nervous too. It's having a hard time handling the pressure. You got this, Steve's camera. You got this, Speediest and Jaron Sachs. Put on some good games for us. You guys are awesome battlers and awesome members of this community. I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring here in game 1. Speediest spending some time thinking about this. Sometimes it's when you lock in your team in the game, take some time thinking about this. But we'll get to it shortly. Speediest with that. That's the season. I believe that's the season 2 pose. Jeremy Sachs, I think that's the season 4 pose. These guys are both perennial legends, staples on the leaderboard, and very accomplished battlers. And it shows in their performance getting to this stage.
Yeah, Speediest Chief might win in the outfit department, dressed a bit more for a winter wonderland. But we'll see if that does work out with a Sableye up against a Sableye, the mirror match, ready to go. both of these Sableyes are purified. You can expect that they're likely to both have return because that is the kind of standard moveset to go for. But we'll just have to wait and see kind of who decides to throw when. All right. It looks like Jay might have been like half a turn ahead, but he's getting this foul play off first.
Expedious to shield this. Yep. And not CMP, but not able to sneak the move back through or deny. So I think they're pretty even here. Jay also throws up the shield. Look at Jay's backline. We got that Granbull and the Machamp.
So he could potentially go for a play of letting this Sableye go down and then bringing in Granbull, but it looks like, I mean, his HP is a little bit higher than Speediest Chief's. No moves sneaking through or getting denied there again. So it seems to still be an even playing field. And Jay not shielding.
He's going to go for that farm down. I think you made a good call there. Granbull and the 0 shields. This is just a foul play. It's not particularly threatening to the fairy type Granbull.
Yep.
Gets a switch.
See what ends up coming in.
Here comes the Golbat. 2, 3, 4, 5 Golbat. I'm guessing that's. I mean, he went a little past the Poison Fang, but this should just be a Poison Fang. But they're going to debuff and then potentially swap out. They might try to catch this Rock Slide. So Jay definitely has to be aware of that. That's
exactly what they tried to do. But he's getting the cross chop onto a Escavalier. Held off, knew what was going on, trying to put some hurt onto this Escavalier. But now Granbull has to do a little bit of work here. Still a shield on Jay's side.
Because it has to kill a Golbat. I don't know that any of the moves this Granbull's going to throw are going to be that lethal of a threat to the Golbat, and the Golbat's going to get to a Poison Fang very quickly because Speediest did overfarm a little bit before he threw that first Poison Fang and swapped out. With
straight into the crunch, and if this doesn't KO Golbat, which I don't think it does. Yeah,
it does a lot to that Shadow Golbat, but one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not.
Probably 3, maybe 4 more charms from there, and that's just way too long. I mean, come on, that gets these Poison Fangs that quickly. So, Speediest Chief taking game 1 in the grand finals.
Only has to take one more game, and Speediest Chief becomes the Nexus League Antimatter Cup champion.
They both led Sableye.
Yeah.
Speediest able to. I mean, Jay willing to give up that lead to get the farm down, which makes sense. I'm probably making the read that the higher CP on Speedy's Sableye, if it came down to a CMP on the third move, Speedy might win that one. So willing to just take the shield advantage and a little energy and walk with that. Even if the Sableye hadn't gotten to another foul play against the Granbull, I think that Shadow Golbat Poison Fang kills it from whatever health that would add back to its life. So really just trying to make a read here on so that was Sableye, the Escavalier did come out. We saw a Sableye, Escavalier, Shadow Golbat. So 2, and that's a more solid ABB, right? The Sableye weak to the Charmer, 2 anti-Charmers in the back. Speedy's team pretty solid in that respect. And Jay jumping into game 2.
Ooh, we've got the good read on Speedy's Chief side. Obscure doing pretty well in this matchup and always the chance for the boost. Not sure if there was a little bit of lag there if we're just kind of caught up. But I don't think there's no need for a shield this early, I don't think.
And J. Robin Stacks is ABA weak to this Obstagoon. Oh, and the boost.
No. Oh, no.
The boost.
Oh,
no. Decided game, $400 on the line, and the Obstagoon gets the boost on the first night/chat. Oh, it's a 12.5% chance.
Oh,
1 in 8. And that thing just boosted.
Landing the return, though. That's pretty nice. And then catching the move onto Skarmory. This isn't going to take it out by any means. Skarmory can definitely take it. Wondering if it pressures Speedy's Chief enough. It does to swap out. Losing the boost, unfortunately, but in a much better spot. Not letting Skarmory get the energy advantage because that can be devastating. Is one fast move short of the Brave Bird, but has Speedy's Chief been counting? Sky Attack still hurts a little bit, so potentially worth shielding. No shield, though. Yeah, and at this point, I think...
He knows he needs to farm up a little extra because that Sableye will outpace. Wins CMP, pushing it right to the edge, just razor thin margins. Excellent work by Speedy's Chief. to force this. Oh, with a bone club even. You don't really like shielding bone clubs. That doesn't feel good. But may get the shield back here, or maybe he just lets this go and brings the Obstagoon back in. Nope. Doesn't read it. Doesn't read it that hard, but gets an energy lead here and gets the shield back.
So now Jay needs to play around the fact that he knows that there is a bit of a weak Obstagoon in the back. So he has to have like some sort of charge move ready to go no matter what. Decides to bring in the Sableye. Marowak's got a
Sableye here and farm down with the jelly.
Yeah.
Nope, goes
no shielding. And it was a bone club.
No, another bone club.
Oh no.
Speediest looked like he lagged a little bit there, but still gets to another move.
And arguably better for him if because it means that there'll be less farm for the jelly to come in and take.
Yeah.
Assuming that he wasn't like one off a charge move.
It is bubble, so it has farm down potential against this. This is Shadow Ball's gonna be scary.
There's no shields. There's no shields.
You need to bubble beam first. You need to bubble beam first. No,
Jay.
The Shadow Ball's gonna hurt.
Throw the bubble beam. It's not too late.
Oh wow. I didn't expect that chat non-stab Shadow Ball, but Shadow Golbat, that Shadow bonus on there, super effective damage. Speediest Chief closing it out. Really good read on that lead in game 2, recognizing that the mirror in game 1 and thought maybe Jay would go back for that and swapped it up to the Obstagoon. Just an awesome read by Speediest. Man, that Shadow Ball damage.
That hurt. Even if he threw the bubble beam straight away, I don't think there was a way for him to wriggle out of that matchup. I think Speediest Chief had him pretty much dead to rights there. Still had a shield on his Golbat. So even if he accidentally or mistakenly shielded up the bubble beam and then got to the Shadow Ball, that's still a very rough situation to get himself out of, especially because there was also still that Obstagoon in the back.
Yeah.
Obstagoon still lived and breathed, had a little bit of, I think had a little bit of energy as well. The boost obviously cleared.
Counters away from a Night Slash, so definitely
it was in a
situation for Speediest either way.
Seriously dire position, unfortunately. But it does mean that Speedy's Chief gets to add another title to I think people have to read out his entire list of qualifications now whenever they say his name, and one of those qualifications is going to be winner of the Antimatter Cup in the Nexus League, taking home $400. Obviously J-Robin Stacks, who have put in such a brilliant performance, winning game after game. We watched game after game of him just dominating, getting 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 in some of the closest matchups that we saw in this entire tournament. But in the end, just was not able to get out on top of the Speediest Chief and goes home with $300 as well. And obviously there is also the matchup in the on the side with the Rise to Occasion versus Dial-Up Chang for the 3rd and 4th place. But Speediest Chief, what a king, what a legend.
Champion.
What an absolute goat.
Also, very fitting that the Antimatter Cup final game of the Grand Finals, we got a Boostagoon. Boosting on the game. Really may not have flipped the game on its head or changed it that much, but just fitting that the signature mon of the tournament and of Antimatter's own NCK228, the Obstagoon there, coming in, boosting on the haters, and closing out this tournament for a victory for Speediest Chief.
Look, we didn't see a gung shot. We never got to see a gung shot goon, but we saw plenty of boosts in this tournament.
Yes.
I think we saw 2 boosts in one game earlier on. I think we saw another boost after that. We've seen a boost just in this final game to close it out. Goon is doing some really great work to be able to do that, but we're gonna throw to Dragonite to do a quick little interview with the world champion, the champion of the cup, Speediest Chief himself. So take it away, Dragonite. Ask what we all need to know: how Speediest Chief got to where he is today.
Alrighty, guys, I am your hostess with the mostest, and I have had a fair less amount of screen time than I did in the previous cups, and I have to give a thanks to our boys behind the desk today, because we had a phenomenal team representing us today. And honestly, in the same vein of that, Speediest Chief had a phenomenal team representing today on the show. Speedy, how you feeling after this cup today?
Hey, Dragonite, thanks so much for having me. Again, just shout out to the Antimatter League. This is a really, really exciting format, exciting tournament, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. This was just an amazing time. I really enjoyed it.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you. I feel like that was a really swift victory, given everything possible here. I'm just impressed. I mean, was anything particularly drastic going through your mind? Was there anything crazy impressive, or was this just another day at the office?
No, I was actually messaging PvP Steve a couple of times. I said, man, I don't think I can make it through the next round. This is going to be really, really tough. I'm going to do my best always, but I doubt I'll be able to even come close to this. But every single competitor is just such a high quality opponent. There were definitely some teams that I was afraid of. I hated fighting Jellison. I hated fighting Skarmory, and I needed to like find ways around those. And it was really, really tough. But I mean, every game was really great. And I feel like some lucky calls here and there. And sure, like I feel like I won the games today, but anybody could do it. I mean, this is such a fun format, and anybody could put a team together and compete at this kind of level.
I was in the booth below. We had a couple of the battlers, NCK actually, to jump off of 6-4's original point where he said how fitting the Antimatter Cup with an Antimatter streamer ended with a Boostagoon. And we were all chuckling down below that it was just rigged. I mean, we thought that was hilarious. But I did want to double check. Now, I believe you are part of a competitive organization. Am I not correct?
No, you are. I'm a part of Mazer Gaming.
And Mazer Gaming has won how many of the Antimatter Cups?
I think my buddy Rise has won one of them, and I think House Stark took the last one, and then somehow I got really lucky, and today happened for me.
We're 2 for 3, and again, falling for House Stark, I think is not anything to be frowned upon either. But Speedy, it's not about Stark today; it's about you. And Speedy as Chief, guys, is going to be our winner of the Antimatter Cup #1. Now, we put #1 there on purpose. I don't have any dates yet, but Antimatter we're kind of somewhere in between wanting to flirt that line with regional or generational cups, and also throwing these kind of off-the-wall, kind of us-specific environmental cups. So be looking forward to us to see if we can get some more new kind of casual or kind of breaking the meta gameplay coming up next here. But guys, before we go, I want to thank everybody who played. We have to again crown Speedy as Chief as our winner for this Antimatter Cup #1, wink wink. But before we go, I have to thank our casters behind the desk as well. We had PvP Steve, we were joined by 6-4 Ninja, both of them absolutely phenomenal content creators in this space. You can find 6-4 primarily on Twitch, you can find PvP Steve primarily on his YouTube channel. I mean, not only are they great human beings, but they're phenomenal assets to us and our community, especially us here at Antimatter, and helping us bring these tournaments to you. And in the spirit of that, we do have to give a shout out to our sponsors as well. Of course, our Sword Dog apparel team. I am always decked out in some nifty threads courtesy of them. We actually have some nifty Nexus League merch as well that is available through them. We do have our new energy drink sponsors, so that's going to be Glitch Energy. They have been known as the G Fuel Killer, and you can use code Antimatter for 20% off all of those products. And we also have our LAN center. That's going to be Gamers Heaven out of Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. And they have actually franchised, and so you may see a Pokemon Go Antimatter Cup near you in person. We're going to be coordinating with them to see out of all of their franchise locations if we can operate a couple of these so we can actually get to meet you lovely folks. And last but not least, we have to thank our primary power in Facebook gaming here. This stream was graciously brought to you by Facebook Gaming, and so we have to, of course, give them credit where it's due. But guys, I had so much fun. The gentlemen behind the desk were incredible, and Speedy, congratulations. That'll do it from us here at Antimatter.